Master, why hasn't your heavenly tribulation ended yet? Looking at the condensed black and white tribulation cloud, Yan couldn't help but ask. My heavenly tribulation is slightly different from others. Lu Qing casually replied. The injuries on his body were still recovering quickly. After cultivating into the heavenly witch body, the vitality power of his physical body was already incredibly formidable. Even if his head shattered, as long as his vitality remained, he could still recover swiftly. The last tribulation thunder from the five-colored tribulation cloud was indeed terrifying with great power. Even his physical body was nearly torn apart, and his vitality power was instantly depleted by over 30%. However, it was precisely this last tribulation thunder that brought his physical body into a state of collapse and rebirth, reorganizing and recovering, making the vitality power even more vigorous. Not only was the power of the physical body stronger, but more importantly, it felt as if a layer of constraint had been removed. The invisible rules that had previously suppressed him, preventing any progress in physical power, were broken by him and could no longer restrict him. Lu Qing knew that this was because his physical body had crossed the body tribulation and stepped into a whole new realm. According to the realm division of the path of witchcraft, he had stepped into the true witch realm, which was equivalent to the primordial spirit realm of the Tao path. Of course, this was only a breakthrough in the physical body. Next, he still needed to cross the Dharma tribulation and soul tribulation. Only when the physical body, magic power golden core, and divine soul all stepped into the primordial spirit realm would crossing the tribulation truly be considered successful. Next, it's the Dharma tribulation, right? Looking at the top of the sky, at the newly condensed black and white tribulation cloud within the heavenly tribulation vortex, Lu Qing's expression was solemn. The five-colored tribulation cloud, which was in charge of the body tribulation, was condensed with destructive tribulation thunder with all of the five elements, intending to completely destroy his physical body. It's unknown what method the Dharma tribulation will use to target his magic power golden core. As Lu Qing was pondering this, the black and white tribulation cloud finally condensed the first tribulation thunder. Suddenly, a thunderous roar echoed through the heavens and earth as a black and white intertwined tribulation thunder crashed down. And in an instant, it had already struck Lu Qing. Lu Qing, who was focused and ready, was somewhat astonished to find that when the tribulation thunder hit him, it completely ignored the defense of his physical body. Like traversing through the void, it directly appeared in his Dan Tian Chi Si, rushing straight toward his magic power golden core. Boom! The black and white lightning struck the perfect golden core suspended in the center of the Dan Tian. Countless lightning flashes immediately spread throughout the Dan Tian Chi Si, intending to completely destroy it. This sudden attack left Lu Qing somewhat caught off guard, causing his body to tremble involuntarily and let out a muffled groan. However, he quickly reacted, and his perfect golden core within trembled slightly, stabilizing the entire Dan Tian Chi Si, making the black and white lightning incapable of destroying it. So that's it. The Dharma tribulation directly ignores my physical defense and appears in my Dan Tian Chi Si, directly targeting my magic power golden core? Reflecting upon this, Lu Qing understood the changes within the Dan Tian Chi Si, finally grasping what the Dharma tribulation was all about. But with just this amount of power, it can't possibly harm my Dan Tian Chi Si. If it were anyone else in the golden core realm, under the ravaging of this black and white tribulation thunder, the entire space of the Dan Tian Chi Si might have already shattered into nothingness. But Lu Qing's Dan Tian Chi Si space not only had his life-bound magical treasure, the five elements gourd, suppressing it, but more importantly, he had refined a perfect golden core that had reached the great perfection of 12 rotations. The flawless magic power golden core had unparalleled power, akin to a vast sun, hanging in the Dan Tian Chi Si to suppress everything. Though the black and white tribulation thunder was formidable, under the suppression of Lu Qing's perfect golden core, it couldn't stir up any trouble, and after a period of ravaging, it eventually transformed into black and white yin-yang energy, slowly integrating into Lu Qing's Dan Tian Chi Si. Lu Qing keenly noticed this change, sensing the changes within his Dan Tian Chi Si, discovering that after the integration of the black and white energy, the Dan Tian Chi Si had a touch of liveliness originally absent. The space of the Dan Tian Chi Si, which had reached its limit and could no longer change, faintly showed signs of expansion once again. So that's it. The black and white tribulation thunder is both a honing experience and an opportunity. If one cannot withstand its ravaging, the outcome is the magic power golden core shattering and the Dan Tian Chi Si obliterating. If one endures, the tribulation thunder transforms into yin-yang energy, nourishing the Dan Tian Chi Si, enhancing the foundation, aiding in transformation. Feeling the changes in his Dan Tian Chi Si, a realization arose in Lu Qing's heart. He finally understood the mystery of the Dharma tribulation in the second tribulation of the Tao primordial spirit tribulation. After grasping this point, his heart and spirit calmed down. With the 5 elements gourd as his life-bound magical treasure and the perfect golden core, he believed that he should successfully endure this Dharma tribulation. What followed was indeed as Lu Qing had anticipated. The black and white tribulation cloud above in the sky kept descending tribulation thunder. Each tribulation thunder was much stronger than the previous. Starting from the 4th tribulation thunder, Lu Qing's Dan Tian Chi Si began to show damage, but it wasn't significant. The 5th tribulation thunder, cracks began to appear in the Dan Tian Chi Si. The 6th tribulation thunder, the cracks in the Dan Tian Chi Si widened. By the 7th tribulation thunder, under the ravaging of the black and white lightning, Lu Qing's Dan Tian Chi Si finally couldn't hold on and started to shatter completely. But even so, under the dual suppression of the life-bound magical treasure and the magic power golden core, the shattered Dan Tian Chi Si still did not perish and could barely maintain itself. Bang! As the 8th tribulation thunder crashed into Lu Qing's Dan Tian Chi Si, his entire elixir field space exploded instantly. After the thunder light dissipated, Lu Qing's Dan Tian Chi Si had become empty, seemingly transformed into a void. Only the 5 elements gourd and the perfect golden core floated in the empty space. However, the 5 elements gourd was also covered with cracks, as if it might shatter at any moment. Even the perfect golden core had more than 10 cracks appear on it. Lu Qing remained calm, not panicking. The destruction of the Dan Tian Chi Si wasn't a concern. As long as the magic power golden core remained, with his current vitality power, he could restore it at any time. Moreover, he also felt that his Dan Tian Chi Si hadn't completely vanished. Instead, it had merged into this void space. As long as he survived the Dharma tribulation, he could manifest it out of the void. But looking at the cracked 5 elements gourd, Lu Qing couldn't help but furrow his brow. There's still the last black and white tribulation thunder left. Even if the perfect golden core can endure, in the state of the 5 elements gourd, it's feared it might be truly destroyed. The 5 elements gourd is Lu Qing's life-bound magical treasure, closely linked to his heart and spirit, making it arguably his most important magical treasure. However, constrained by his cultivation realm, the 5 elements gourd couldn't advance, only possessing the grade of a pinnacle magical treasure. Consequently, under the repeated ravages of the black and white tribulation thunder, even though the 5 elements gourd wasn't the thunder's primary target, it still couldn't withstand and was on the verge of being destroyed. It seems I can only use that item. Lu Qing's heart moved, and a gray bead suddenly appeared in the elixir field space, transforming into a stream of light and merging into the 5 elements gourd. With the integration of the gray bead, the 5 elements gourd abruptly shivered, as if receiving an enormous boost. Not only did the dense cracks on its surface heal rapidly at a visible speed, its inherent aura also surged swiftly, seemingly undergoing a kind of transformation. In fact, it was indeed transforming. The item Lu Qing integrated into the 5 elements gourd was precisely the Chaos Pearl he purchased in Tianshu City back then. The Chaos Pearl is a bead formed at the brink of extinction from the chaotic power when a massive secret realm space or a world returns to chaos, absorbing a vast amount of spatial and a trace of chaotic power amidst various coincidental opportunities. Not only does it inherently possess great strength and potential to become a powerful spiritual artifact, more importantly, it has an extremely important function. That is to enhance the essence of a spiritual artifact. As long as it is integrated into a particular magical treasure, not only can it greatly boost that treasure's potential, it can even directly enhance its grade. Initially, upon acquiring the Chaos Pearl, Lu Qing was indecisive about whether to use it on the 5 Elements Gourd, the 5 Elements Spiritual Pearl, or the Leaving Fire Tripod. Now, the 5 Elements Gourd is close to destruction, and this magical treasure is closely related to him. It cannot be left to perish. Therefore, Lu Qing no longer hesitated and directly integrated the Chaos Pearl to aid its transformation. Coincidentally, the black and white tribulation cloud above was still brewing the last tribulation thunder. The stronger the 5 Elements Gourd transformed during this time, the more beneficial it was to his crossing the tribulation. This black and white tribulation cloud also has 9 tribulation thunders. Outside the range shrouded by the heavenly tribulation aura, primordial spirit great powers of 2 tribes watched as the black and white tribulation cloud brewed the 9th tribulation thunder, speechless. Everything that happened today was too strange. Regardless of the unimaginably powerful heavenly tribulation vortex, or the unprecedented 5-colored and black and white tribulation clouds, or the terrifying tribulation thunders whose mighty powers made their hearts and spirits tremble, everything had surpassed their cultivation comprehension. Why would a primordial spirit tribulation's heavenly tribulation vortex be this strong? Why did a heavenly tribulation manifest 2 tribulation clouds? Why, under such a terrifying heavenly tribulation, can the living creature crossing the tribulation endure without extinction? Countless questions lingered in the hearts of many primordial spirit great powers but received no answers. This feeling left them extremely uncomfortable. Bang! Under the watchful gaze of numerous primordial spirit great powers, the long-brewed 9th tribulation thunder of the black and white tribulation cloud crashed down. Although this black and white tribulation thunder wasn't filled with the power of destruction like the 5-colored tribulation thunder, its strange aura made all the primordial spirit great powers feel more apprehensive. As the 9th tribulation thunder fell, a primordial spirit great power said hoarsely, "This time, it should be over, right?" But still, no one replied to him because the heavenly tribulation vortex ahead was too strange. No one could determine what changes might occur afterward. This last tribulation thunder is indeed far more terrifying. At the top of the valley, Lu Qing sat cross-legged, focusing all his heart and spirit on the Dan Tian Chi Si. Under the illumination of his heart and spirit, the 9th black and white tribulation thunder was transforming into a massive black and white electric grindstone, enveloping the 5 Elements Gourd and the perfect golden core, grinding them. Under this formidable power, the already restored 5 Elements Gourd also showed countless cracks once more. Even the perfect golden core showed signs of fragility and crackled with lines in the heavenly might transformed tribulation thunder grindstone. Seeing his magic power golden core about to shatter, failing the tribulation, Lu Qing's heart and spirit were clear, and an enlightenment surged within. Destruction paves the way for creation. Just like my physical body collapsing and reassembling made me stronger. This final hurdle of the Dharma tribulation is the same. Only through understanding the concept of breaking and then standing in destruction can one shatter the golden core and attain the primordial spirit. Seizing this enlightenment, Lu Qing did not hesitate, immediately urging his heart and spirit to communicate with the heaven and earth array beneath him. Suddenly, the force of the heaven and earth formation encompassing 1,000 miles fueled Lu Qing. Not only did it firmly guard his physical body but also extended into his Dan Tian Chi Si, enveloping that void space. Lu Qing then displayed a resolute expression, softly uttering a single word. Explode! The next moment, the perfect golden core in the Dan Tian Chi Si was directly detonated by him. Bang! 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 Lu Qing's perfect golden core was so powerful that this explosion instantly shattered the black and white electric grindstone formed by the force of the Tao. Countless black and white electric currents wandered throughout the entire space. Even the 5 Elements Gourd shattered in an instant. The force of the explosion showed signs of extending beyond the void space. Were it not for Lu Qing's current strong physical body and the heaven and earth formation guarding that space, plus his deliberate control of the explosion power, this self-detonation alone would have left him in pieces, not even leaving scraps. Even so, Lu Qing was gravely injured, with his vitality severely reduced. His physical body developed cracks. Even a slight touch seemed enough to shatter it completely. Yet, despite the severe injuries, Lu Qing's eyes were bright, because in his heart and spirit, he had captured a glimpse of opportunity from the void. Gather! With another utterance, under the powerful shroud of his heart and spirit, in the space of the shattered Dan Tian Chi Si, a light point emerged from the void in its center. This point of light, upon appearing, generated infinite suction, swiftly absorbing the black and white electric currents dispersed in the space. After the light point absorbed all the black and white electric currents, it expanded rapidly. After a dozen breaths, a new Dantian Chi Si began to form within Lu Qing. This new Dantian space was not only countless times wider than before, but also thousands of times more resilient. At the center of the Dantian space, a small figure exactly like Lu Qing, somewhat ethereal, sat cross-legged in the air, embracing a gourd in its hands. The main body of the gourd was colored like a black and white yin-yang fish, with only two distinctly colorful eyes resembling a yin-yang fish. It was precisely the previously shattered five elements gourd. Golden core shatters. Primordial spirit emerges. Lu Qing, with immense resolve, self-destructed his golden core, blasting apart that great black and white thunder millstone. Then, using the concept of indestructible rebirth that he comprehended, he destroyed and then established anew, absorbing all black and white thunder into nothingness, reshaping his Dantian Chi Si, and condensing his primordial spirit. So this is the primordial spirit? Lu Qing looked with curiosity at the small figure in his Dantian Chi Si, holding a gourd, with eyes tightly closed. He could naturally feel that this small figure was connected to his heart and spirit and was his primordial spirit. However, his primordial spirit seemed to be somewhat different from others. In other cases of the primordial spirit realm, it seems that the primordial spirit would take residence in the forehead acupoint known as the Mud Palace Pill. But his own primordial spirit, after transformation, still remained in the Dantian Chi Si. Is it because I haven't crossed the soul tribulation yet, so the primordial spirit cannot take residence in the forehead acupoint? Lu Qing speculated in his mind. He then looked at the black and white multicolored gourd in the little figure's hands. The mouth of the gourd was continuously inhaling and exhaling the abundant flowing primordial spirit power in the Chi Si Dantian. Each inhalation and exhalation made Lu Qing's mana purer. From the connection of heart and spirit with the gourd, Lu Qing knew that this was the recondensed five elements gourd. Only now, the five elements gourd had clearly undergone a significant transformation. Not only had its power become much more formidable, but even its essence had undergone some transformation. Under the communication of heart and spirit, Lu Qing understood in a matter of moments what had happened. Previously, he had integrated the Chaos Pearl into the five elements gourd, intending to promote it to a spiritual artifact. But the changes that followed took him by surprise, and in the end, he could only self-destruct the golden core and condense the primordial spirit amid great destruction. The five elements gourd also shattered in this explosion. But this shattering did not destroy it. Rather, it gave a final push in its transformation stage, absorbing a large amount of black and white tribulation thunder, and condensed again. Now, the gourd, fused with the Chaos Pearl and having absorbed a large amount of yin-yang qi, had its essence transformed. It now not only embodied the five elements but also contained powerful yin-yang power. Perhaps it is more aptly called the yin-yang five elements gourd now. And the transformed yin-yang five elements gourd had also elevated its grade beyond the lower grade to directly become a middle-grade spiritual device. Strangely enough, the yin-yang five elements gourd, despite being a middle-grade spiritual device, did not produce an artifact spirit, because it was shattered and then condensed together with Lu Qing's primordial spirit. So, under some rules of the unseen, the yin-yang five elements gourd became a companion spiritual artifact of Lu Qing's primordial spirit, completely controlled by it. Or, in a certain sense, his primordial spirit is the artifact spirit of the yin-yang five elements gourd. It's really a fortuitous coincidence, full of wonder. Understanding this, Lu Qing couldn't help but marvel. But all these things were beneficial to him. The five elements gourd was originally his life-bound spiritual artifact, and now, after transformation, becoming a companion spiritual artifact to the primordial spirit, the connection became even tighter. Besides, its grade had escalated to the middle-grade spiritual device level, with power increased by hundreds of times, becoming another great support for him. All these changes were adding to his cultivation potential. Of course, the functions of the yin-yang five elements gourd were not limited to this, but more wondrous uses would have to be slowly explored after crossing the tribulation. After understanding the changes in the yin-yang five elements gourd, Lu Qing, with a thought, had his consciousness enter the primordial spirit. The next moment, he felt that his divine soul-sensing ability was geometrically enhanced, plus the heaven and earth array's support. Within a 1,000-mile radius, everything was within his sensing ability. At the same time, he also discovered, hundreds of miles away, the separation between the two races' primordial spirit great powers. However, Lu Qing wasn't too surprised. The commotion from this tribulation crossing was so great, and the 10,000 Demon Mountain range was at the border of two territories, so it was impossible for the powers stationed at the border of the two races not to take notice. At the same time, he also noticed little Li and the others hiding in the forests not far from those human race powers. What are those two doing so sneakily? Lu Qing suddenly frowned, sensing two golden core realm auras, behaving sneakily, hiding 100 miles away from little Li and seemingly plotting something. Yet before he could figure it out, he felt a sudden tremor of heavenly might overhead. It was indeed that the third tribulation cloud had already condensed. Seeing this, Lu Qing could only remind little Li before withdrawing from the mysterious primordial spirit state and looking above. Hundreds of miles away, after hearing Lu Qing's voice transmission, little Li moved slightly. Little Li, what's wrong? The white flood dragon, noticing little Li's movement, quickly asked. Ah Qing just transmitted a message to me, saying there are two late-stage Golden Core Realm individuals hiding 100 miles away from us, so we should be cautious. Little Li replied somewhat seriously. The 100-mile distance was beyond its sensing range, hence it hadn't noticed the two Golden Core Realm individuals. The Lord transmitted a message to you? The white flood dragon was startled. It hadn't expected that Lu Qing, while amidst the heavenly tribulation, could still have the spare capacity to be concerned with their situation. Yes, Ah Qing also said not to worry about his tribulation crossing. After crossing 9 tribulation thunders, this heavenly tribulation of his will conclude. There are still 9 tribulation thunders, really? The white flood dragon was even more shocked. Originally, the heavenly tribulation vortex appeared twice with 18 tribulation thunders, which it found incomprehensible. Now, Lu Qing actually said there were still 9 tribulation thunders? Indeed, there is a third tribulation cloud. In the sky above, the two races' primordial spirit great powers, witnessing the heavenly tribulation vortex lingering unreceded, could already guess it. But when they saw the formation of a third tribulation cloud, they couldn't help but be shocked once more, because this third tribulation cloud was even more strange. It was a gigantic eye. The pupil was pitch black, revealing no emotion, indifferent to everything, as if it truly was the eye of the heavens suddenly opening, surveying all living things. The primordial spirit great powers just looked at the eye formed by the tribulation cloud and couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Everything before them was too bizarre, completely beyond their understanding. At this moment, the primordial spirit great powers of both races stopped thinking about why such a change had occurred, as it was meaningless. They knew that only after this strange heavenly tribulation ended would they have a chance to understand everything. The sole tribulation of the great Tao primordial spirit tribulation, the tribulation cloud it condenses, is actually an eye? Lu Qing was greatly surprised, especially being stared at by the eye of heavenly tribulation. He felt a strange sensation in his heart. It seemed like this eye truly belonged to some unfathomable existence. Lu Qing was not afraid. Instead, he looked up and made eye contact with it. He even activated his superpower to observe it, trying to see if he could uncover the origins of the Eye of Heavenly Tribulation. However, Lu Qing observed for a while, but before the Eye of Heavenly Tribulation revealed any information, the strange eye blinked, and a tribulation thunder had already struck down. The Eye Tribulation Cloud had already brewed the first tribulation cloud, which has now descended. And that tribulation thunder was formless and shapeless. Its power could be felt, but its form could not be seen, equally bizarre. The target of the tribulation thunder was clear. It was heading straight for Lu Qing's forehead acupoint. Similarly, his physical body defense was ineffective, and even the defense of the 5 spiritual pearls had no effect. This formless tribulation thunder directly struck the divine soul talisman condensed by Lu Qing with divine soul power, and the wave quickly spread, encompassing all of Lu Qing's heart and spirit. The next moment, Lu Qing felt a blur before his eyes, and when he reappeared, he was already in a strange environment. All around him were endless flames, wanting to engulf him and completely refine him. Is this an illusion realm? Looking at the flames around him, despite how real they seemed, with their heat and the burning sensation felt in the divine soul being identical to reality, Lu Qing still instantly recognized that he was currently within an illusion realm. After all, possessing the divine skill of mistaken, he was inherently a master of illusion techniques. He could still tell whether what lay before him was an illusion realm. Interesting. So this soul tribulation is using various illusion realms to temper my heart and spirit? Lu Qing immediately understood. Then his heart and spirit trembled slightly. Break! As his divine soul shook, the scene before him, like an infinite purgatory, also shook violently. Finally, it twisted, deformed, and completely shattered. And Lu Qing's heart and spirit also reconnected with his physical body, returning to reality. However, after the illusion realm shattered, those flames did not extinguish but turned into formless energy, merging into Lu Qing's forehead acupoint and the divine soul talisman. Immediately, Lu Qing felt a peculiar change occurring in his forehead acupoint. The divine soul talisman also started to emit an aura of vitality. So this is how it is. This so-called soul tribulation uses formless tribulation thunder to drag my heart and spirit into various illusion realms for tempering. If I can break the illusion realm, the tribulation thunder turns into nourishment, refining and nurturing my divine soul, strengthening its essence. If I can't break it, I will forever sink into the illusion realm until my heart and spirit are obliterated. Sensing the changes inside his body, Lu Qing finally gained a clear understanding of the soul tribulation of this third tribulation. What this soul tribulation did was not so different from when he used the divine skill of mistaken to trap enemies within illusions. It's just that the illusion realm created by the heavenly tribulation was more grand. But for Lu Qing it was not a problem. Having already crossed 2 tribulations, his strength had already surged. Especially after the shattered pill condensed the primordial spirit, his divine soul power underwent a transformation. Plus, he had mastery of illusion techniques through the divine skill of mistaken. Perhaps, for the upcoming soul tribulation, he will overcome it more easily than the previous ones. The events that followed proved Lu Qing's feelings to be correct. Each tribulation thunder from the Eye of Heavenly Tribulation that descended dragged him into various illusion realms. Some placed him amidst beauties and fairies, making him the master of a grand harem. Others made him command countless soldiers, becoming a supreme emperor of his time. Some made him the leader of the righteous within the human race, holding sway over the righteous powers of the heavenly origin great world. Some morphed into vengeful spirits of those who died by his hand, demanding his life back. And others showed the tragic deaths of little Yen and his master, crying out to him. So these illusion realms varied and were endless in scope. There was even a realm that let him pass the tribulation of ascension, becoming an immortal. But without exception, these illusion realms were broken by Lu Qing one by one, absorbing all the tribulation thunder's energy. Bam! As another illusion realm shattered like glass, a vast amount of tribulation thunder energy was absorbed by Lu Qing. His heart and spirit became increasingly clear, and the divine soul talisman within his forehead acupoint emitted a faint golden glow, seemingly on the verge of undergoing some fundamental transformation. Only one tribulation thunder remains. I wonder what the final illusion realm will be? While absorbing the tribulation thunder's energy, Lu Qing pondered. To be honest, the illusion realms created by this soul tribulation, although possessing great power and achieving a state of almost indistinguishable from reality, they still possessed an obvious sense of discord to him, unable to sway his true innermost self. Thus, although the later illusion realms grew increasingly more formidable, his speed in breaking through them did not slow in the least. His true heart remained steadfast, never wavering. Lu Qing quietly awaited, and not long after, the ninth tribulation thunder finally finished brewing and thundered down. The formless tribulation thunder directly descended into Lu Qing's forehead acupoint, dragging his heart and spirit into yet another illusion realm. Ah King, Ah King. When Lu Qing opened his eyes, he heard someone calling him. The voice was extremely familiar, causing his heart and spirit to tremble. Before he could turn his head, he already felt himself being embraced in a warm hug. That voice, overcome with joy, sobbed, "Ah Qing, you're finally awake. Mom thought you were really going to leave me and your dad like this." Feeling that long-missed, yet familiar, presence, Lu Qing's tense body suddenly relaxed. He gently smiled, "Mom, I'm back." Then he looked at the somewhat weathered figure to the side and softly said, "Dad, I'm back. It's good that you're awake, it's good." Usually stern, Mr. Lu then couldn't help but wipe his eyes and kept saying. After a while, when the emotions of the two elders calmed down a bit, Lu Qing finally asked, "Dad, Mom, what's happened to me?" At this time, Lu Qing could already notice that he was lying on a white bed, with an intravenous drip on his hand. Judging by the surroundings, he should be in a hospital. His body also felt completely empty. All mana, primordial spirit, magical treasures, talismans, everything was gone. As if everything he experienced in the cultivation world was nothing but a dream. "Ah Qing, don't you remember anything?" My memories are a bit blurry. Half a month ago, when you were coming home from work, you passed by a road and saw an out-of-control car heading towards a pair of playing children by the roadside. You pushed the two children away, but ended up being hit in the head by the car yourself, losing consciousness on the spot. The doctors initially said you wouldn't wake up, but your mom didn't believe it and came to call you every day. Now she finally called you back to consciousness. Do you not remember any of this? Mr. Lu recounted the events bit by bit. Lu Qing thought for a moment, feeling the memories continuously emerging in his mind, and nodded slightly. It seems like something like that happened. Not remembering isn't bad. Now that you're awake, don't think about those things anymore. Resting and getting your body back to health is what matters now. Lu Qing nodded gently. Seeing his parents smile, he also smiled. Interesting, weaving memories directly into my mind. Upon hearing that Lu Qing had woken up, his attending physician hurried over. After a series of examinations, he exclaimed in disbelief, calling it a miracle. He said that the blood clot in Lu Qing's brain had somehow completely disappeared. So as long as he rested for a while and waited for the external injuries on his head to heal a bit more, he could be discharged from the hospital. Consequently, after staying in the hospital for another 3 days, Lu Qing was discharged and went home with his parents. During those 3 days, his mother came every day to take care of Lu Qing, allowing him to feel that long-lost warmth. I never expected to have a day where I could go home again. Standing in front of his yard, Lu Qing felt a sense of emotion. Everything in the yard made him feel both unfamiliar and familiar. "Ah Qing, what's wrong?" Mrs. Lu looked at Lu Qing's somewhat dazed expression and asked worriedly. "Nothing, Mom. You go ahead. I'll walk around by myself." Lu Qing smiled slightly, soothing his mother. After his parents went into the house to tidy up, Lu Qing began to wander around the yard. touching things in the yard and feeling the deep-seated familiarity from within, gradually relaxing his heart and spirit. In the end, as if making some kind of decision, he smiled. In the days that followed, Lu Qing peacefully recuperated at home. Half a month later, the injuries on his head were completely healed. When he went back to the hospital for a re-examination, after a serious checkup, the doctor finally told Lu Qing that he had completely recovered, without any sequelae, a miracle in the medical field. Whether it was a miracle or not, Lu Qing didn't care. After fully recovering, he returned to the company to continue working. Day by day went by. Lu Qing spent every day either working at the company or staying at home with his parents, living a peaceful life commuting between 2 points. At first, Mr. and Mrs. Lu thought this kind of life was great. Their son had narrowly escaped death, walking once through the gates of hell, and now not only had his body recovered but also became more filial. What could be better than this? However, a few years later, the two elders saw that Lu Qing was still spending every day either at work or at home, with almost no social interactions, not to mention having a girlfriend. Finally, one day, taking advantage of the weekend, Mr. and Mrs. Lu found Lu Qing, who was nestled on the sofa reading a book. "Ah, Qing, we need to talk to you about something," Mrs. Lu said with a slightly serious expression. "What is it, Mom?" Lu Qing closed his book. "It's like this, you're not getting any younger, and it's not good to always stay at home during holidays. Have you thought about finding a girlfriend?" Mrs. Lu asked tentatively. "Finding a girlfriend?" Lu Qing was taken aback. "Yes, you're almost 30. You should find a girlfriend. Your mom and I still want to have a grandchild," Mr. Lu said seriously. "So you too just want a grandchild?" Lu Qing suddenly realized, but he shook his head. "Let's talk about this later." Mrs. Lu saw this and coaxed for a while, but Lu Qing kept shaking his head. Having no choice, the two elders left reluctantly. But they didn't give up. In the days that followed, Lu Qing found that occasionally young and beautiful girls would appear at home. After inquiring, he found out that his parents had asked a matchmaker to introduce girls to him. Lu Qing shook his head in silence, and could only deal with it slowly. Although he was polite and courteous to those girls, under his deliberate rejection, none of the matches ended successfully, making Mr. and Mrs. Lu both frustrated and helpless. As Lu Qing kept delaying, year after year went by. In a blink of an eye, he had reached 40 years old. Over the years, Lu Qing still did not take the initiative to meet any girls, let alone start a family. By the time Lu Qing was 35, Mr. and Mrs. Lu had come to terms with reality and stopped urging him to get married and have children. They realized that their son surviving such a grave danger and living was a blessing from the heavens, and they shouldn't ask for more. With his parents no longer pushing him to marry and have children, Lu Qing's days became more relaxed. Soon, more years passed, and Mr. and Mrs. Lu's hair began to turn white, with more wrinkles appearing on their faces. Eventually, under Lu Qing's care, they slowly reached the end of their lives. "Dad? Mom? Do you have any unfulfilled wishes?" In the hospital, looking at his weak-breathing parents, Lu Qing asked softly. "We have no regrets." Mrs. Lu smiled gently. "If there is anything, it's that your dad and I didn't get to see you married and hold a grandchild. Yes, I don't know why you're so stubborn. With so many wonderful girls back then, did you really not like any of them?" Mr. Lu wondered. "It's not that they weren't good, but that I couldn't get too involved with karma. Otherwise I might really get stuck in this world and never leave." Lu Qing said somewhat seriously. "Karma? Ah, Qing, what are you talking about?" Mrs. Lu asked in confusion. "Nothing, you two are tired. Just rest well." Lu Qing's voice was exceptionally gentle. "Yes, I am indeed a bit tired and want to rest for a while. What about you, dear?" "I'm tired too. Let's rest together." The two elders slowly closed their eyes and fell into a deep sleep. With his hair also slightly graying and wrinkles on his face, Lu Qing watched them with gentle eyes. He watched until the two elders' breathing became weaker, finally stopping completely, their life breath vanishing entirely. Yet Lu Qing still watched them. It seemed that he wanted to engrave the peaceful expressions of the two elders who were sleeping eternally in his memory. After a long while, Lu Qing took one last look at the two elders, then slowly turned around, walked out of the house, and into the courtyard. He looked around at the grass and trees, as if wanting to remember everything completely. In the end, his gaze slowly moved upwards and finally fixed on the somewhat dazzling dusk sunset in the sky. He kept looking and finally gave a gentle laugh. Whether you are the manifestation of the great Tao or the will of some mysterious being, I still want to thank you for helping me mend a regret in my heart. Unfortunately, falsehoods are ultimately just falsehoods. Everything has an end. As Lu Qing finished this sentence, nothing changed around him. It seemed as if it was just his sleep talking. Yet Lu Qing was unconcerned, and he continued to gaze at the setting sun. And with his gaze, the originally slowly descending sun, at some unknown moment, ceased its movement. Then, in an instant, the crimson sunset suddenly flipped over, as if some creature suddenly opened its eyes, revealing a very strange pupil. The eerie eye hanging above the horizon bore no expression, gazing intently at Lu Qing. The entire world also began to turn dark red, resembling flowing blood. It's useless. This illusion realm cannot trap me. Facing the sudden change, Lu Qing's expression did not waver in the slightest, as if all of this was already within his expectations. He gently shook his head, and his heart and spirit trembled slightly. The entire world immediately began to tremble and twist, gradually shattering. The eye in the sky faced these changes without any movement, just continuing to stare at Lu Qing. Until the entire world broke apart, the eye slowly receded. Lu Qing quietly watched as the strange eye disappeared, yet his body continued to absorb the shattered pieces of the world around him. What's wrong with Master? There's been no activity for so long. Just as Lu Qing was absorbing the last breath of tribulation thunder. Outside, Yan within the leaving fire tripod watched Lu Qing anxiously. Since the 9th tribulation thunder fell earlier, a full quarter hour had passed. Lu Qing remained standing there, motionless. It should be known that with the previous 8 tribulation thunders, Lu Qing was only lost for just over 10 breaths before quickly regaining consciousness. But this time, after such a long time, Lu Qing still had not awakened. This inevitably made Yan anxious. However, no matter how worried it was, it could only be anxious. After all, this was Lu Qing's heavenly tribulation, and it didn't even know what this 3rd tribulation cloud was testing, unable to do anything at all. All it could do now was secretly activate the leaving fire tripod, ready to respond to any possible occurrences. In the midst of Yan's concern, several more breaths passed, and it saw that after Lu Qing let out a long sigh, he finally opened his eyes. "Master, you're awake!" Yan couldn't help but exclaim in delight. I'm fine. How long did it take me to pass the final tribulation thunder?" Lu Qing asked with a hint of vicissitudes in his eyes. "Not very long. Just a little over a quarter hour." Yan immediately replied. "Is it just over a quarter hour?" Lu Qing murmured softly. In the illusion realm, he had actually spent more than 50 years. Of course, those more than 50 years were something he willingly went through. Otherwise, he would have long broken through the illusion realm and come out. Memories of the numerous years spent in the illusion realm flashed through his mind, finally freezing on the peaceful sleeping faces of the two elders. He smiled. The sense of age in his eyes vanished, and clarity fully returned. At the same time, the chi blood within surged, his mana shook, and the primordial spirit little figure in the Dan Tian Chi Si suddenly moved. Holding the yin-yang 5 elements gourd, it charged straight up, appearing in the forehead acupoint of Lu Qing. As soon as it entered the space of the forehead acupoint, the primordial spirit occupied the central position. And the divine soul talisman protected by the 5 spiritual pearls flew out from the earth spirit pearl, landing in the hand of the primordial spirit little figure. As for the 5 spiritual pearls, they transformed into a ring, hovering behind the head of the primordial spirit little figure. Thus, Lu Qing's primordial spirit was seated at the center of his forehead acupoint, the left hand holding the yin-yang 5 elements gourd, the right hand the divine soul talisman, and 5 original spirit pearls suspended behind, looking exceedingly mystical. And at the moment the primordial spirit took its seat in the forehead acupoint. Above in the sky, a stream of light descended, falling onto Lu Qing. Subsequently, Lu Qing felt himself uniting body with qi, qi with spirit, the three becoming one, beginning to merge, and truly step into a mysterious and unpredictable realm. He began a new round of transformation, whether in physical body, mana, or primordial spirit power, all began to surge remarkably. Power so strong as to shake space started to spread throughout his body. Lu Qing knew this was the change after crossing the 3 tribulations and finally stepping into the true primordial spirit realm. He looked up at the heavenly tribulation vortex in the sky, only to see that the eye of heavenly tribulation had already dissipated. Even the heavenly tribulation vortex, after the stream of light fell, started to gradually hide away. This scene naturally immediately drew the attention of all the powerful beings outside who were closely watching the movements of the heavenly tribulation. Look, the heavenly tribulation vortex is about to disappear and fade away. Finally, it's going away. Does it mean that tribulation cloud was the last of the clouds? A heavenly tribulation actually having 3 kinds of tribulation clouds, 27 tribulation thunders. This has never been recorded in the history of cultivation. What kind of heavenly tribulation is this at all? No matter what kind of heavenly tribulation, it is very clear that living being crossing it still survives. Everyone must be cautious. One that could trigger such a strange heavenly tribulation is definitely not an ordinary being. Don't worry. I already sent a message to the Holy Alliance. An elder is already on the way here. Good. Before the elder arrives, try not to engage with the being that crossed the tribulation. Among the human clan cultivators, a host of primordial spirit great powers communicated with each other, planning how to tackle the upcoming situation. On the other side, the demon clan's primordial spirit great powers were also in discussion. The heavenly tribulation vortex is about to disappear, ready to move out at any moment. First figure out what exactly is crossing the tribulation. If it's a great power from our demon clan, it's fine. If it's from the human clan or demon clan, consider again depending on the situation. This heavenly tribulation's strange. The one crossing it must also be unusual. Everyone must be careful. I just received a message. The true martial demon king is on their way here. The heavenly tribulation is going to disperse. Qing succeeded in crossing the tribulation. In the mountains and forests, little Li was equally overjoyed. But little Li, what should we do now if we go over there? Surely those above will be discovered by the primordial spirit great powers. The white flood dragon asked. We don't need to go over. Once Qing stabilizes the realm, he will come over, we just need to stay here. In the midst of little Li's and the white flood dragon's exchange, the last trace of the heavenly tribulation vortex in the sky above also slowly faded away. Witnessing this, all the great powers from both clans were spiritually invigorated. Yet just as they were about to set off to the place where the tribulation thunders had fallen, there was a loud rumble, and heaven and earth shook, like the Tao quaking, making them involuntarily stop in their tracks. What's happening again? The numerous primordial spirit great powers were filled with uncertainty. But the next moment, the eyes of everyone couldn't help but widen. Before them, above the sky, countless colorful flowers spontaneously formed and fell towards a certain direction below. And within a 10-mile radius of the previous heavenly tribulation center, countless golden lotuses suddenly bloomed. Simultaneously, just as the previous shaking of heaven and earth subsided, another sound of the Tao arose, shaking the heart and spirit of all living creatures. One anomaly after another seemed to be manifesting due to the birth of some new existence. These various anomalies directly left the 2 clans' primordial spirit great powers staring dumbfounded, with faces full of disbelief. Heavenly flowers scatter in profusion. The earth surges with golden lotuses, continuous sounds of the Tao. What sort of existence was crossing the tribulation earlier to cause such Tao reverberations and universal celebrations? looking ahead at the golden lotuses blooming from the ground and the heavenly flowers falling in profusion. The celestial phenomena appeared in the skies, listening to the resonating sound of the great Tao echoing through the heavens and earth. All the great powers in the primordial spirit realm were dumbfounded, incredulously staring ahead. They understood that the appearance of these heavenly phenomena must be because of that living being crossing the tribulation ahead. But what kind of entity, after successfully crossing the tribulation, could cause the heavens to descend with various phenomena in celebration, making the great Tao sing for him? Such treatment, even in the history of the heavenly origin great world, had never been granted to the most astounding peerless geniuses, those who were proclaimed as the child of fate of an era. Ah Ching successfully crossing the tribulation this time, with such exaggerated heavenly phenomena? Little Li, hiding in the forest, watched the celestial phenomena ahead, also feeling tongue-tied. As for the white flood dragon, there was no need to mention it, as it had already become completely dazed. With continuous phenomena and the majestic heavenly might descending, the gathered primordial spirit great powers dared not act recklessly. They could only halt in place, continuing to wait. Before they figured out the background of the tribulation transcending being ahead, they did not want to make a reckless move that might cause any misunderstandings. What the gathered primordial spirit great powers didn't know was what kind of powerful transformation Lu Qing was undergoing as they waited. Is my power actually still increasing? Enveloped by the heavenly phenomena, Lu Qing felt the transformation within himself and was taken aback. Just a moment ago, a stream of light descended from the vortex of the heavenly tribulation, merging into his body like a catalyst, completely igniting his body. His mana, physical body, and divine soul, which had all individually ascended to the primordial spirit realm, fused into a completely new force. And as soon as this power was born, it circulated throughout his body, transforming his physical body once more. After a long while, when all the transformations completed, the mana in Lu Qing's Dan Tian Qi had transformed into a new form. The original 5 elements mana, with its 5 colored hues, had now turned into a grayish appearance, seemingly inconspicuous. Yet within this inconspicuous appearance, Lu Qing felt a terrifyingly immense power. This grayish mana, compared to his original 5 elements mana, was not just doubled in power. Lu Qing contemplated for a moment, and a sudden realization arose in his heart. So that's it, this grayish mana is the evolved power after my mana, power of the physical body, and divine soul power fused together. It encompasses everything. Not only does it contain the power of the 5 elements, but it also includes yin-yang power, making its appearance gray like chaos due to the combination of various forces. Of course, aside from its immense power, the grayish mana held more mysteries, but Lu Qing didn't have the time to delve into them now, because he felt the surrounding heavenly phenomena gradually retreating, and the gathered primordial spirit great powers on both sides began to become somewhat restless. Taking advantage of the remaining time, he focused his heart and spirit on a stream of light in his mind. Before the vortex of the heavenly tribulation dispersed, it left a stream of light that not only assisted him in making the final transformation, but also left some information in his mind. Lu Qing touched that stream of light with his heart and spirit, and instantly, a radiant light burst forth, with the sound of the great Tao echoing in his mind, almost making him lose himself. After a few breaths, when Lu Qing regained his composure, a new chapter of the Taoist chapter had emerged in his mind. The primordial spirit chapter of the Taoist chapter, so it is, after perfectly crossing the heavenly tribulation this time, I would be granted a new Taoist chapter as well. Lu Qing felt delighted. Initially, he had been pondering the path to take after stepping into the primordial spirit realm. Now, with this new Taoist chapter, it would at least guide him in a direction. However, despite having this opportunity, Lu Qing still didn't have the time to explore this Taoist chapter thoroughly, because now, the heavenly phenomena surrounding him had completely dissipated, and the resounding of the great Tao was gradually fading away. He sensed even more that the two groups of great powers began approaching this place. Perhaps it was due to the uniqueness of his heavenly tribulation. These primordial spirit great powers were clearly apprehensive. Their approach was not swift, and their faces bore expressions of vigilance. Lu Qing stood up from the ground. With a thought, a simple gray-white magic robe appeared on his body, concealing him. During the tribulation, Lu Qing's physical body had been shattered by the tribulation thunder. Clothing, naturally, could not be preserved. Fortunately, he had prepared many magic robes. He refined himself in the Chenkuan Qi bag, so he wasn't worried about having no clothes to cover his body. Once dressed in the magic robe, Lu Qing's body hovered in the air, rising slowly. By now, his appearance had reverted to his true form. After stepping into the primordial spirit realm, Lu Qing had truly gained a power of self-preservation in this heavenly origin great world. With the void-flying boat in hand, even if he were to encounter the space-shifting old ghost of the Gongsu family again, he need not fear. This meant that from now on, he no longer had to cautiously hide his identity as before and could walk the world with his original visage. As Lu Qing ascended, the primordial spirit great powers approaching from both sides were all taken aback. They saw the figure slowly rising in the sky ahead. Strangely, although they saw him, their primordial spirit sense could not detect any aura from the other party. Were it not for their eyesight, they would have thought that area was completely empty of any living creatures, based solely on their primordial spirit sense. This strange scene made the primordial spirit great powers of both races even more vigilant. However, since they had come this far, it was naturally impossible to retreat, so they cautiously moved forward. As they got closer, the primordial spirit great powers of both races were shocked again because the primordial spirit great powers of the demon clan and the human race sensed each other's presence. After getting closer for a while, they tacitly stopped at a distance of about 10 miles from Lu Qing. This distance, for these primordial spirit great powers with deep cultivation, was actually just a distance that could be crossed in a breath. But it allowed both sides to maintain a form of courtesy. After stopping, the primordial spirit great powers of both races began to slowly observe Lu Qing. When they saw Lu Qing's human race face, the great powers on the human race side naturally felt a sense of joy and relaxed a bit. However, the great powers of the demon clan felt a sudden alarm and became even more cautious. None of them had expected that the creature crossing the tribulation would not be some unparalleled devil they imagined, but a human. "Sir, was it you who was crossing the tribulation here just now?" After a moment of silence among the three parties, it was finally the middle-aged primordial spirit great power in a purple robe and high crown from the human race who carefully asked. "Indeed, I thought that coming to this remote mountain to cross the tribulation would not disturb others. I apologize for the disturbance to all you seniors," Lu Qing said with an apologetic smile. But his words made the primordial spirit great powers of both races twitch their faces slightly, unable to help but complain inwardly. Your heavenly tribulation was so overwhelming. Avoiding disturbance was quite impossible. "Sir, you're joking. Matters of the heavenly tribulation cannot be controlled by oneself. May I ask which sect's disciple you are? Forgive this old man for being short-sighted, but I've never seen you before." The middle-aged man in a purple robe and high crown continued. But he relaxed inwardly. The other party's polite speech indicated that he harbored no malice towards them. This was at least a piece of good news for them. "I am just an unknown loose cultivator. Even if I told you my origin and background, I suppose you seniors might not have heard of it, so it's better not to mention it," Lu Qing said nonchalantly. Seeing that Lu Qing was unwilling to disclose his origin and background, the great powers on the human race side were not surprised. This mysterious young man was going to the 10,000 Demon Mountain range to cross the tribulation, presumably not wanting to reveal his identity and background. They looked at Lu Qing's face, searching their minds to see which top power in the young generation of the human race he matched. But ultimately, they found that even thinking through all the peerless talents they knew in the entire heavenly origin great world, none could match the man in front of them. Could it be that this person is an outsider? Unconsciously, the thought flashed in the minds of the great powers of the human race. While the middle-aged man in a purple robe and high crown was pondering how to close the distance with Lu Qing to further inquire, he saw Lu Qing's expression suddenly change. Instantly, an incredibly terrifying aura emanated from him, courting death. After Lu Qing shouted, he disappeared from the spot. His speed was so fast that none of the primordial spirit great powers present saw how he left. While the primordial spirit great powers of both races were shocked and puzzled as to why this mysterious young man suddenly became furious, they sensed Lu Qing's aura appear again. This time, however, he was already several hundred miles away. What kind of speed is this? The primordial spirit great powers were astonished. To cross several hundred miles in a breath, such a speed even they could not achieve. Moreover, they had not detected any fluctuations of spatial power just now, so it was clear that the other party did not use the space-shifting technique. But if Lu Qing genuinely relied on his speed to cross several hundred miles in a breath, such speed was no less shocking to the primordial spirits than if he had used the space-shifting technique. In doubt and suspense, the primordial spirit great powers glanced at each other, then tacitly moved in the direction of Lu Qing. The anger in Lu Qing's voice earlier clearly indicated that something happened ahead that enraged him. These primordial spirit great powers also felt a trace of curiosity in their hearts. Those who could guard the border were not weak. At the very least, they were second tribulation primordial spirits. Such great powers, using Taoist skills to hurry, although not as incredible as Lu Qing's speed, were by no means slow. In just a few breaths, the primordial spirit great powers arrived at the spot where Lu Qing was. Then they witnessed a shocking scene. They saw Lu Qing hovering in the air, and in front of him, two figures were suppressed in midair with faces full of terror, unable to move. One of them was holding a compass treasure. At this moment, Lu Qing was no longer alone. On his shoulders stood two spiritual beasts. One was a raccoon with black fur like flames. The other was a small, mini serpent with colorful scales and wings on its back. Additionally, a large white flood dragon was hiding behind Lu Qing, its eyes fixed intently on the compass treasure held by one of the suppressed men. Seeing this scene, the faces of the primordial spirit great powers of both races changed slightly. The difference was that the human race's primordial spirit great powers' expressions changed when they saw little Li on Lu Qing's shoulder, while those of the demon clan stared at the white flood dragon behind Lu Qing. However, Lu Qing did not care about these. He looked at the white flood dragon behind him. You say, this person's compass treasure carries the aura of your father? Yes, master. I can sense that the treasure he holds is related to my father. The white flood dragon nodded repeatedly. With a thought, Lu Qing made the compass treasure held by the middle-aged man from the beast-taming sect leave his hand and fall into Lu Qing's. With a slight sense, he noticed a presence inside similar to the white flood dragon's, then activated his superpower. After a few breaths, he already understood the background of the compass treasure and was aware of it in his heart. He casually erased the divine soul mark from the compass treasure and then tossed it to the white flood dragon. This treasure has some connection to your father. Keep it for now, and I'll explain it to you later. After the white flood dragon accepted the treasure, Lu Qing looked at the two men. As for you too, have you thought about how you want to die? The middle-aged man from the beast-taming sect had his divine soul mark forcibly erased by Lu Qing, causing damage to his divine soul, a mouthful of reverse blood surging up. However, he dared not spit out this blood, but instead looked in horror at the terrifying, mysterious young man before him. Just moments ago, he had intended to seize the opportunity, while the primordial spirit great powers were investigating the source of the heavenly tribulation, to quickly capture the white flood dragon and then immediately withdraw and escape. Little did he anticipate that the supreme strike, jointly activated with his junior brother using the 10,000 Beasts compass, was effortlessly blocked by this mysterious young man, who in turn suppressed both of them. Instantly, he realized that this young man in front of him must be a primordial spirit great power, and not an ordinary primordial spirit realm. Otherwise, they could not have felt such a sense of despair. Senior, we brothers didn't know they were your spiritual pets. Please spare us. The middle-aged man from the beast-taming sect stammered in plea. Yes, Senior, it's not my fault. It was my senior brother who forced me to act. On the other side, that young cultivator also cried out. But upon hearing his words, The middle-aged man was displeased and immediately cursed. Nonsense, you were about to leave just now. But after seeing the black raccoon and colorful serpent, you became even more eager than I was, and now you want to pin everything on me? Yes, senior, it's not my fault. It was my senior brother who forced me to act. On the other side, that young cultivator also cried out. But upon hearing his words, the middle-aged man was displeased and immediately cursed. Nonsense, you were about to leave just now. But after seeing the black raccoon and colorful serpent, you became even more eager than I was, and now you want to pin everything on me? My fellow cultivator, please show mercy. As this voice rang out, an invisible force suddenly appeared in front of Lu Qing, protecting the two beast-taming sect disciples. The two who should have been crushed to death by a mere thought from Lu Qing miraculously survived after spitting out a mouthful of blood. Along with the voice, a figure suddenly appeared before the primordial spirit great power of the human race. It was an elder who wasn't particularly burly, and was even somewhat thin. With gray hair, a heavy dark sword strapped to his back, he exuded a cold aura. Elder Xing, the great powers of the human race, saw the figure and cried out in joy. At the same time, they all greatly relaxed. The aura Lu Qing had emitted earlier was terrifying, even causing their hearts to palpitate. Moreover, Lu Qing's displayed speed made them extremely wary. Even a three-tribulation peak primordial spirit like the man in the purple robe and high crown didn't dare act rashly. Now that Elder Xing was here, they felt they had found their backbone. After all, Elder Xing was a peak four-tribulation primordial spirit great power, just one step away from the realm of five tribulations. And he was a pure sword cultivator, with combat power nearly comparable to a true five-tribulation great power. Among the many elders of the Holy Alliance, his strength was considered top-notch, only below those who had already comprehended spatial power. Ha! Xingjian, I didn't expect you to arrive first. A hearty voice resounded a few breaths after Elder Xing appeared. Another figure suddenly appeared before a group of primordial spirit great powers of the demon clan. The figure had a human body and a monkey face, appeared robust, with gold and black fur, and had thick arms drooping to the knees, exuding an exceptionally domineering aura. Greetings to King Jinwu. Upon seeing the ape, the demon clan's great powers were overjoyed and hurriedly stepped forward to pay their respects. King Jinwu, you've come too. Seeing the ape, Elder Xing nodded slightly, but when he saw the black golden fur on the other, his cold face couldn't help but change. Have you broken through? Ha! Just lucky. King Jinwu grinned, his mouth humble, but his face was quite smug. In previous clashes with the same realm, he was always slightly oppressed by Xingjian. Now, having taken a crucial step forward, though not completely broken through, he was ahead of Xingjian. I didn't expect you to get ahead. When your fur completely transforms, you'll truly enter the realm of five tribulations. Right? Hee. Then let's have another sparring session. King Jinwu chuckled. But Elder Xing didn't respond this time. In the past, using his sword cultivation techniques, he could slightly suppress this ape, but it was only a slight advantage. The ape had innate talent, harboring ancient bloodlines within. Once entering the realm of five tribulations, the bloodline within would be fully activated, and its power would surely surge. To spar again by then would be asking for trouble. The two great powers chatted, ignoring those around them, while the human race and demon clan great powers didn't dare interrupt. Even Lu Qing seemed not to want to disrupt, as if waiting for them to finish their conversation. Suddenly, King Jinwu's gaze fell on Lu Qing, then glanced at the white flood dragon behind him, and finally at little Li and the five elements on his shoulder. Then said, "It seems you were also called by your subordinates because of that previous strange heavenly tribulation. Judging by this situation, could this lad be the one who triggered the tribulation? I've just arrived and am not entirely clear on the situation." Elder Xing shook his head. Elder Xing. At this moment, the purple-robed, high-crowned middle-aged man seemed to be reporting something to Elder Xing via divine soul transmission. Listening to this, Elder Xing's expression slightly moved, and he looked at little Li on Lu Qing's shoulder. Lu Qing naturally could feel these changes, but he didn't care too much. During their conversation, he had already investigated the information about the other party. After breaking through the primordial spirit realm, Lu Qing's superpower seemed to have been further enhanced. When probing for information, he became more efficient. Even for the 4 tribulation and 5 tribulation great powers, it only took a few breaths to investigate their information. As he saw both focusing on him, Lu Qing returned Elder Xing's gaze. Calmly asked, "I wonder why Senior stopped me from punishing these 2 evildoers. What's the meaning? For what reason, fellow cultivator? Do you intend to put them to death?" Elder Xing asked. "These 2 villains, while I was crossing the tribulation, tried to abduct my spiritual pet Senior. Do you think they should die?" Hearing this, the 2 10,000 Beasts sect disciples were very anxious and quickly shouted again. "Elder, we're innocent. We only thought these spiritual beasts were local spiritual creatures of the 10,000 Demon Mountain range, not knowing they were the spiritual pets of this Senior. Otherwise, even with 10 guts, we wouldn't dare offend them. We are disciples of the 10,000 Beasts sect. The sect master is also one of the elders of the Holy Alliance. Elder, save us." Lu Qing didn't stop the 2 from shouting, just quietly watched Elder Xing, wanting to see what he would do. As for the shouting of the 2 10,000 Beasts sect disciples, Elder Xing showed no change in expression. He just said to Lu Qing, "You heard it too. These 2 are disciples of the Wanshou sect. The 10,000 Beasts sect is one of our Holy Alliance's allies, and its disciples are under Holy Alliance's jurisdiction. Since they have made a mistake, fellow Taoist, if you trust this old man, why not hand them over to our Holy Alliance to be dealt with? We will certainly punish them severely." "Handled by you?" Lu Qing raised an eyebrow. "Will you execute them?" "You're joking, fellow Taoist." Elder Xing shook his head. "They have erred and offended you, but their crime is not deserving of death. However, I will ensure they compensate you." "Compensation, is it?" Lu Qing laughed lightly, stroking little Li's fur. "Elder, do you know that to me? This spiritual pet is truly family? These 2 are Golden Core late-stage experts. Just now, they joined forces to wield a magical treasure, and the blow they struck was quite powerful. If I hadn't arrived in time, my spiritual pet might have been gravely injured or worse. Elder, if your family was attacked without cause, nearly killed, what would you do?" Elder Xing was silent. He could hear the murderous intent in Lu Qing's tone. The other party was resolute, unwilling to spare these 2 10,000 Beasts sect disciples. Yet after a moment of silence, he still spoke. "If it were me, I would still choose to hand them over to the Holy Alliance. It seems that you and I, Elder, cannot reach an agreement." Lu Qing shook his head and said, "In my dealings, I always repay kindness with kindness and revenge with revenge. Since these 2 have offended me, there is no reason for me to let someone else punish them." After speaking, Lu Qing's mind stirred, and the suppressive force on the 2 10,000 Beasts sect disciples suddenly intensified. Elder Xing's expression changed slightly as he felt this, and his primordial spirit's fluctuations strengthened on the 2 10,000 Beasts sect disciples, similarly intensified rapidly. However, he was astonished to discover that his strengthening was unable to match the opponent's. Bang! In just an instant, there was a thunderous sound, and Elder Xing's power was shattered. Soon after, under the tremendously powerful suppressive force wielded by Lu Qing, the 2 10,000 Beasts sect disciples couldn't even utter a cry before they were turned into blood mist, dead on the spot. "Fellow Taoist, you?" Witnessing the 2 clouds of blood mist, Elder Xing was both shocked and furious. He was naturally shocked by the unexpected strength of Lu Qing's suppressive force, capable of breaking his Taoist skill. Furious because, as an elder of the Holy Alliance's punishment hall, a dignified 4 tribulation primordial spirit, this person showed no respect, killing the ones he intended to protect right in front of his eyes. "Elder, those who offended me have already been punished by my own hands. Is there anything else you wish to say?" Lu Qing said calmly. Elder Xing's expression turned grim as he glared tightly at Lu Qing, a surge of murderous intent brewing within him. Lu Qing sensed this murderous intent but only smiled. It seems the elder is not as selfless as he claims. I merely punished two wicked individuals, and you've already developed a killing intent. Is it possible that I have already committed a crime worthy of death in the eyes of your Holy Alliance? Or have you finally decided not to pretend anymore? What do you mean? Elder Xing paused. The purple-robed, high-crowned middle-aged man and other primordial spirit realm individuals behind him also showed slight changes in expression. Ha ha! Do you all truly think I'm oblivious, unable to sense your exchange through sound transmission earlier? You've long identified my identity through Little Li, haven't you? Therefore, you are indeed the evil demon who committed a great crime years ago on the Tianshu Divine Mountain, harming multiple primordial spirit great powers? Elder Xing's face turned completely cold. An evil demon, is it? Lu Qing mouthed the term before laughing and saying, That's right. I am indeed the evil demon, wanted by your Holy Alliance back then. With these words, all the human race primordial spirit great powers were taken aback. Despite having already confirmed through various clues that the mysterious young man before them was the evil demon who committed the monstrous crime on Tianshu Divine Mountain years ago, they couldn't help but be surprised when Lu Qing genuinely admitted to it. They originally thought the other party would at least try to deny or argue, yet he admitted it so straightforwardly. At the same time, some of their doubts were answered. Rumor had it, the evil demon who slaughtered multiple primordial spirit great powers on Tianshu Divine Mountain many years ago was genuinely of the Golden Core realm. When this matter was reported to the Holy Alliance, most elders were skeptical. After all, a Golden Core against a primordial spirit is unbelievable, let alone a Golden Core realm individual single-handedly slaying multiple primordial spirit great powers head-to-head. This kind of thing is as absurd as an ant suddenly slaughtering a dragon. Some elders even suspected that those surviving primordial spirits might have exaggerated, deliberately magnifying the evil demon's power to cover their incompetence. However, later, through extensive investigations, the Holy Alliance obtained an astonishing result. What those primordial spirit realms said seemed highly likely to be true. That evil demon, their true realm, might truly be the Golden Core realm. Precisely for this reason, the Holy Alliance ultimately decided to issue a kill order for that evil demon. First, because this evil demon had enormous potential and seemed to harbor deep hostility towards their human race forces, posing a great threat. Second, because there were those in the Holy Alliance who wanted to know why a Golden Core realm individual possessed such immense strength. Looking back now, no wonder the previous heavenly tribulation was so strong, clearly a primordial spirit tribulation, yet more terrifying than the primordial spirit realm of seasoned primordials. If it were this individual, it makes sense. After all, this evil demon could possibly slay multiple primordial spirit great powers at the Golden Core realm years ago, with unimaginably deep foundations. The primordial spirit tribulation they faced, exceeding conventional terrors, was not so difficult to understand after all. The human race primordial spirit great powers were greatly shocked. The demon clan primordial spirit realm individuals also showed varied expressions. They had also heard about what happened on Tianshu Divine Mountain among the human race years ago, but never expected the central figure to be this mysterious young man in front of them. Those with sharp minds were the first to focus on Little Li. They recalled certain legends related to the incident years ago. Legend has it that, years ago, the evil demon was accompanied by a spiritual beast with ancient bloodlines. Could it be the black raccoon perched on his shoulder? Excellent. Elder Xing's face turned somber. So it really is you, this evil demon. No wonder you're so ruthless. Not even sparing two junior Golden Core realm who only slightly offended you, seeking total annihilation. Only an evil demon like you could commit such inhumane acts. As the saying goes, after searching high and low, we never tracked you down despite many years of the Holy Alliance's pursuit, only to find you nestled in the 10,000 Demon Mountain range, cultivating in secret. Perfect. Today I will capture you and bring you back to the Holy Alliance for trial, to show you that killing our human race great powers is not so easily done. After speaking, Elder Xing drew the dark iron sword strapped to his back. ready to advance and capture Lu Qing. Hold on. Just when Elder Xing started to move, True Martial King suddenly appeared before him, extending his hand to halt him. True Martial King, what do you mean by this? Elder Xing's expression changed instantly, questioning in a loud voice. Simultaneously, he was flooded with various thoughts. Could it be that this true martial king sees this evil demon being at odds with the human race and intends to intervene? Xing Jian, there's no need to be upset. True martial king seemed to understand Elder Xing's thoughts and immediately explained. You have grievances to settle with this young man, but we also have questions to ask him. Why not let me finish questioning him before you act? After all, he is merely entering the primordial spirit realm. You don't worry that he could turn the tables in front of us. Do you? Elder Xing felt True Martial King's aura and understood that even if he disagreed, this ape would intervene. Considering the fact that he had half a foot into the 5 tribulation realm, he could only reply coldly, then you may ask. True Martial King turned to Lu Qing and asked, Young man, speak. Where does the raccoon spiritual beast on your shoulder come from? After King Jinwu queried, he stared intently at Lu Qing. The powerful primordial spirit power enveloped the surroundings with an oppressive aura, seemingly trying to discern if Lu Qing was lying. Faced with such powerful pressure, Lu Qing appeared unfazed, maintaining a calm demeanor. Are you talking to me? If not you, then who, boy? Do you know you've committed a grave crime by taking a spiritual beast with royal blood from our demon clan as a spirit pet? This is a major taboo, violating the agreement between your human race and my demon clan. King Jinwu grinned, speaking with a hostile tone. Is that so? Then why did those 2 10,000 Beasts sect disciples just try to severely injure and abduct little Li and them, without any reproach from your demon clan? Lu Qing replied calmly. King Jinwu paused immediately, before he could say anything else. Lu Qing continued. Besides, what does the agreement between the human race and the demon clan of the heavenly origin great world have to do with me? Upon hearing these words, the eyes of the assembled primordial spirit great powers all narrowed. Evil demon, you are indeed. Enough. There's no need for you to waste words. In the end, you're just coveting the secret I possess. So drop the pretense and stop looking for excuses. Lu Qing sneered. If you want to know my secret, come at me. All of you, come at once. As these words were spoken, all the primordial spirit great powers were stunned, and then looked at Lu Qing with disbelief, wondering if they had misheard. Did this kid understand what he was saying, asking them all to come at him? Here were over 20 primordial spirit great powers of the 2nd and 3rd tribulations, plus a sword cultivator at the peak of the 4th tribulation, and a demon king already with 1 foot in the 5th tribulation. Such a lineup would not dare be taken lightly even by a truly spatially aware 5 tribulations primordial spirit. This kid actually said to attack him together, especially King Jinwu, who burst into laughter. Boy, you're sufficiently arrogant, but also sufficiently ignorant. Want all of us to attack. You're not worthy. Do you really think reaching the primordial spirit realm makes you invincible in the world? Not invincible in the world, but handling you should be enough. King Jinwu's face turned thoroughly cold. He didn't expect to be underestimated one day by a mere novice in the primordial spirit realm. Very well, boy, you've successfully provoked me. Next, I'm going to break your bones inch by inch, so you understand the cost of speaking recklessly. You sure talk a lot, Lu Qing remarked calmly. With a thought, little Li, the 5 elements, and the white flood dragon vanished, all absorbed into the leaving fire tripod. With a movement, he had already appeared before King Jinwu, shaping his hand into a fist, and punched towards King Jinwu's face. With this punch, the heavens and earth moved, the surrounding space shook, gathering endless power onto Lu Qing's fist, aimed at King Jinwu. What? King Jinwu had originally been watching Lu Qing leisurely. Seeing Lu Qing attempt to engage in close combat, he sneered even more. With his current formidable physical body, even Xing Jian's sword couldn't break his defense without using a secret technique, nor injure his physical body. This kid, despite having a deep foundation, had just recently broken through to the primordial spirit realm, still several realms apart from him. So, in his view, Lu Qing punching him was like an egg striking a rock, futile. Besides shattering his own fist and breaking his arm, there would be no other result. However, when he saw Lu Qing's punch shake the heavens and earth and distort the space, his expression instantly changed. His eyes showed shock, and without thinking, he mobilized the power within his body, crossing both hands to block Lu Qing's punch. Though it seems lengthy, all these changes happened in an instant. From Lu Qing's punch to King Jinwu's reaction to block, it was just a fleeting moment. Boom! Lu Qing's fist, glowing with a jade-white light, landed squarely on King Jinwu's stout arms without flourish. An unimaginable force erupted, causing the heavens and earth to quiver, and the space between them to shake and distort as if about to shatter. In this turbulent spatial power, King Jinwu's body was blasted away by Lu Qing's punch, breaking through layers of atmosphere and flying backward. What? King Jinwu was actually knocked back with a punch? A punch distorting space. Could this boy also have comprehended spatial power? Not good, retreat quickly. Seeing King Jinwu blasted away by Lu Qing's punch, the primordial spirit great powers watching were filled with disbelief. What terrified them even more was that, as King Jinwu was blasted back, the spatial ripple from Lu Qing's punch quickly spread. Sensing the terrifying power contained within the ripple, the primordial spirit great powers' faces changed dramatically. They hurriedly employed their movement techniques, retreating rapidly. Fortunately, they reacted swiftly and retreated in time before the ripple spread out, avoiding being affected. Yet it was enough to make the primordial spirit great powers feel a tremor in their hearts and spirits. Although they had faintly sensed Lu Qing's terrifying nature before, none had expected Lu Qing could punch even King Jinwu, who was almost at the primordial spirit 5 tribulations. Flying. Even Elder Xing's pupils contracted tightly at this moment. Earlier, due to a mistake, Lu Qing had broken through his power and crushed those 2 10,000 Beast sect disciples. Although surprised, he didn't really believe that Lu Qing truly possessed the power to match him. After all, as a sword cultivator, he was not particularly skilled in defensive Taoist skills. The power Lu Qing unleashed was unexpected, leaving him unguarded, allowing the surprise attack to succeed. But if it were a direct confrontation, the situation would be different. With his sword Dao cultivation, he couldn't believe that someone who had just undergone the primordial spirit tribulation at the primordial spirit initial realm could withstand him, even if this realm was the notorious evil demon that once shook the Holy Alliance. However, upon seeing the true martial king being repelled with a single punch by Lu Qing, Xing Jian's heart sounded alarm bells. Cough, cough. In mid-air, the true martial king shattered countless layers of qi and finally steadied himself after flying back dozens of miles. But the persistent blockages in his qi blood made him cough several times involuntarily. The intense pain from his arms further informed him that his bones were already cracking. How is this possible? The true martial king felt a sense of absurdity welling up in his heart. Who was he, at the pinnacle of the 4 tribulations, with 1 foot already in the 5 tribulation realm, having started to purify his true blood, drawing his bloodline closer to his ancient ancestors? His physical body, nurtured by the bloodline and tempered through multiple primordial spirit tribulations, had long reached a state where even magical treasures couldn't harm him, and ordinary spiritual artifacts couldn't leave a trace. He was confident that after his breakthrough, even a sword cultivator like Xing Jian at the peak of the 4 tribulations would struggle to break his defenses, much less truly injure him. Yet that boy managed to disrupt his qi blood with a single punch, causing his arm bones to fracture? For a moment, the true martial king felt bewildered, even questioning whether he was trapped in an illusion realm. Otherwise, how could such an absurd thing happen in this world? Yet the pain in his arms and the clarity of his primordial spirit told the true martial king that this was no illusion. He was indeed injured by that young boy who had just undergone the primordial spirit tribulation with a single punch. Feeling the pain in his arm, the true martial king took a deep breath, and the demonic power within him circulated, almost instantly healing his internal injuries through mere breath. The demon clan was originally known for its formidable physical bodies, let alone a great power with 1 foot in the 5 tribulation realm, with life energy so formidable it was incomprehensible. At his realm, even if his head were crushed, as long as his primordial spirit remained, he could rapidly recover. Much less a minor fracture. Such an injury could be healed in the blink of an eye. The true Martial King's inner turmoil was more profound than the physical injury, which was far from damaging his core. Oh, quite resilient. No wonder you were so boastful just now. Feeling the true Martial King's aura recovering to its peak, Lu Qing seemed somewhat surprised. Hearing Lu Qing's words, the true Martial King's expression grew even more unpleasant. Clearly, the other party's realm was lower than his, yet now he spoke as if he were a senior expert critiquing a junior, making remarks casually. This arrogance was intolerable to someone of his nature. However, despite his anger, the true Martial King chose to temporarily endure. Boy, I admit I underestimated you earlier. I didn't expect you, who had just undergone the primordial spirit tribulation, to possess such strength. It's no wonder you caused such a stir at the Tianshu Divine Mountain of the human race back then. But if you think that just injuring me once means you can be so complacent, then you are mistaken. Next, I'll show you the true power of our demon clan. With that said, the true Martial King's body suddenly trembled, releasing an incredibly violent aura. His originally burly form rapidly expanded, and his black gold hair grew wildly, while the fangs at his mouth slowly lengthened. Eventually, the true Martial King's body swelled to a height of 30 feet before stopping. Demon Ape True Body. True Martial King even revealed his true form? This is the strongest combat form of the Demon Ape clan. It seems the true Martial King is truly enraged this time. That kid is doomed. The moment the Demon Ape True Body appears, the true Martial King's power should increase several times over, and he won't be able to withstand it. Seeing the transformation of the true Martial King, the great powers of the Demon Clan were all agitated. The true Martial King was from the Demon Ape Clan, and his revealed true form was the clan's strongest combat form. However, ever since the true Martial King entered the primordial spirit realm, few could force him to unleash this move. No one expected the chance to witness it today. He even revealed his true form? Elder Xing was astonished once more upon witnessing this. Having fought the true Martial King multiple times and even gained the upper hand, Elder Xing had naturally seen this move before. The Demon Ape True Body was indeed the true Martial King's trump card. Once used, not only did his strength surge, but his defensive power and speed also greatly increased. In the past, as long as the true Martial King unleashed his true form, even Elder Xing found it troublesome, having to exert all his strength just to inflict some external injuries, without being able to harm his core. Now, the true Martial King had broken through, taking a critical step forward, and his bloodline had undergone transformation. Redoing this move, even his sword chi might not be able to breach his defenses. Yet despite the terror of the true Martial King's present power, it wasn't what truly astonished Elder Xing. What surprised him was that the true Martial King directly used this trump card against Lu Qing. Does that mean this evil demon before him had already made the true Martial King feel a genuine threat, necessitating the use of his strongest force to win? For a moment, myriad thoughts swirled in Elder Xing's mind, yet his vigilance only increased. Boy, you should feel honored. Even among top-level experts of my rank, few can force me to use my true form. Dying under this move will be your great fortune across lifetimes. Next, I'll completely smash you into pulp. The true Martial King's voice was like a massive bell, spewing white mist from his blood-red mouth. The aura around him was incredibly violent, shattering the surrounding spiritual energy. Does getting bigger make a difference? Watching the true Martial King's towering stature and feeling the exceedingly violent aura, Lu Qing's expression remained unchanged, even shaking his head slightly. I've already given you all a chance, suggesting you join forces against me. Since you chose not to cherish it, don't regret it when you die later. Arrogant. Seeing Lu Qing still maintaining such a haughty tone, the true Martial King spat out white mist. Immediately, his figure vanished from where he stood. In the blink of an eye, within less than a breath's time, he had crossed dozens of miles to appear before Lu Qing. It was unimaginable that such a massive form still possessed such terrifying speed. Using his explosive speed, the true martial king appeared before Lu Qing in the blink of an eye. Looking down, his eyes filled with malice, and his right hand formed a fist as massive as a small mountain, swinging towards Lu Qing like a meteor from the heavens. Transformed, the true martial king's strength had surged several times, and the impact of this punch was even more terrifying than Lu Qing's previous punch. Nobody doubted that if this punch landed, Lu Qing's fate would be sealed, broken into pieces with no other possible outcome. As everyone believed Lu Qing was about to be smashed into a bloody mist by the true martial king's punch. The next moment, all the primordial spirit realm's eyes nearly bulged out. They witnessed an unforgettable scene. Lu Qing, facing the incomparably violent fist of the true martial king, did not dodge. In midair, he drew back his fist, confronting the true martial king's punch with one of his own. The next moment, all the primordial spirit realm's eyes nearly bulged out. They witnessed an unforgettable scene. Lu Qing, facing the incomparably violent fist of the true martial king, did not dodge. In midair, he drew back his fist, confronting the true martial king's punch with one of his own. Space Rift. When a group of primordial spirit great powers saw the black rift traced by Lu Qing's punch, their bodies shook, because they all recognized that the black rift was indeed the legendary Space Rift, and Lu Qing's fist was actually able to break through space. Such a thing left the group of primordial spirit great powers utterly shocked. It's known that, as one of the most expansive main worlds within the Great Origin Immortal Domain, the space rules of the Heavenly Origin Great World are incredibly stable. Even primordial spirit great powers find it extremely difficult to shake them. Only those who have stepped into the Five Tribulation Realm and have profound comprehension of space rules can wield spatial power to easily twist and break through space, displaying high-level Taoist skills like space-shifting technique. Apart from this, ordinary primordial spirit great powers might only succeed with the aid of the legendary space treasure. Even an elder like Elder Xing at the peak of 4 tribulations, even using all his strength, could at most only shake the space. Trying to cut a space rift with swordsmanship is overwhelmingly difficult. But now, the group of primordial spirit great powers can see that the space rift on Lu Qing's punch didn't rely on a space treasure. Instead, it was forcefully blasted open with his boundless fist power. One can only imagine how terrifying the power of his punch truly is. Space Rift. True Martial King naturally also saw the black rift created by Lu Qing's punch, a flicker of shock passing through his previously violent gaze. However, all this happened in a mere instant. Just as the amazement appeared in the eyes of all the primordial spirit great powers, Lu Qing's fist already collided with True Martial King's fist. Underneath the clash of the two punches, the space between Lu Qing and True Martial King vibrated and twisted intensely. In the next moment, True Martial King's expression changed. He felt as if Lu Qing's fist carried the might of a collapsing sky and earth, terrifying beyond imagination. In just an instant of contact, his fist power was completely dismantled, and unbearable pain followed. His fist, along with his arm, shattered in an instant. That arm was blasted apart by Lu Qing's punch. Moreover, the force of Lu Qing's punch hadn't diminished, striking True Martial King's chest, causing him to spurting blood profusely while his large body rolled backward through the air. Rip! Just as True Martial King was blasted away by Lu Qing's punch, the entire space between him and Lu Qing split open with a gigantic tear like a piece of cloth, exposing the black spatial turbulence inside. The exceedingly stable space of the Heavenly Origin Great World couldn't withstand the explosive fist power of Lu Qing and was directly torn open with an immense space crack. However, the space rules of the Heavenly Origin Great World are truly stable, as the crack swiftly began to mend. The powerful spatial power started to repair this space rift. Yet, this terrifying scene made the heart and spirit of the distant witnessing primordial spirit great powers tremble. A punch to shatter the void, The demonic power could actually reach the level of tearing space with bare hands. Hasn't he just crossed the tribulation? A primordial spirit, great power from the human race, cried out in horror, their voice trembling uncontrollably. True Martial King used the demon ape true body. Yet he can't even match him? A primordial spirit realm from the demon clan likewise shouted in complete astonishment. Yet what shocked them more was yet to come. Roar! Kid, you must die! True Martial King's body tumbled in the air for over a dozen miles before barely stabilizing. At this point, he looked extremely disheveled. Not only had one of his arms been shattered by Lu Qing's punch, but his chest also was pierced with a hole, revealing the faint beating of his inner organs. Outside of his body, numerous wounds were carved by the previously erupting spatial turbulence. The demon ape true body, known for its 100 refinements, unscathed by spiritual artifacts, appeared as fragile as porcelain under Lu Qing's fist power. Though the injuries seemed severe, True Martial King's aura hadn't diminished too drastically. A primordial spirit demon king with 1 foot into the 5 tribulation realm was this powerful. With incredibly vigorous vitality, unless faced with head-crushing or heart-shattering, such fatal injuries, ordinary wounds, even if it's breaking arms and legs, hardly affect his origin. Even during the retreat, his injuries were already rapidly recovering. The hole on his chest continuously grew and healed, and even the shattered arm was quickly regrowing. Lu Qing, having already made a move, wouldn't grant him the opportunity to fully recover. With a single step, a spatial ripple spread out beneath his feet, and his body disappeared from the original spot, reappearing over 10 miles away in front of True Martial King, launching another punch. Where the fist passed, a space rift once again emerged, making True Martial King's eyelids twitch. He couldn't fathom why, despite the origin aura marking him as genuinely human race. His physical body surpassed his demon clan's power. Even the spatial turbulence seemed incapable of harming his physical body. Moreover, wasn't he said to have just crossed the primordial spirit tribulation? How could his power be more terrifying than this demon king with 1 foot in the 5 tribulation realm? Various thoughts flashed in True Martial King's mind, and feeling the destructive aura of Lu Qing's punch, he dared not be careless any longer. With a mental command, a giant golden stick suddenly appeared in his intact left hand, which he wielded single-handedly, thrusting it towards Lu Qing's fist. Boom! Facing the golden giant staff crashing in like a siege pillar, Lu Qing didn't dodge or evade but directly punched it. Instantly, countless energies erupted. The space ruptured once more, and the body of True Martial King was again shaken back. This time, his situation was much better. He was only shaken back a few miles, and except for reopening some of his not fully healed wounds and spitting out a mouthful of blood, there weren't any major new injuries. What? However, True Martial King couldn't accept this result. He didn't expect that even after using a magical treasure, he was still at a disadvantage. Even his opponent was unharmed when taking his magical treasure head-on with just their physical body. Middle-grade spiritual device? Lu Qing shook his somewhat numb wrist, a little surprised. He thought this ape was a demon clan that relied on physical combat, but unexpectedly, it had a hidden hand and actually possessed a middle-grade spiritual device. Fortunately, after achieving the primordial spirit, his physical body was immensely formidable. Even the chaotic space currents couldn't harm him in a short time. Otherwise, he might have suffered a little loss. Just as Lu Qing was about to launch another attack, his heart and spirit stirred, and he suddenly dodged to the side. As soon as he dodged, a fierce sword light nearly brushed past his body, flying out from behind him and finally landing next to True Martial King, revealing its form. It was the somewhat slender Elder Xing. Xing Jian Yu. True Martial King was also very surprised by Elder Xing's appearance. Just as he was about to ask, Elder Xing suddenly interrupted him. Stop trying to be brave, True Martial King. This evil demon is formidable, and neither of us can handle it alone. We must join forces to have a chance of destroying this evil demon. True Martial King's eyebrows twitched. His rebellious nature instinctively wanted to refute these words. But in the end, he opened his mouth and couldn't find any words to contradict them. After continuously suffering setbacks at Lu Qing's hands, and even his most hidden techniques failed to injure him in the slightest, he had to admit that perhaps on his own he wasn't Lu Qing's match. So he nodded at the end. "All right, I'll join forces with you this time." Seeing true Martial King agree, Elder Shing relaxed a bit. He was worried the ape wouldn't recognize the situation and insist on going solo. Seeing his agreement to team up, Elder Shing then turned and shouted, "And you all, form a formation immediately. Assist us in eradicating this devil." These last words were directed at the demon clan primordial spirits. As for the human race's great powers, Lu Qing only then noticed a strong wave emanating from their positions. It seemed they had already formed a formation while he was fighting true Martial King, fully prepared. Seeing the demon clan primordial spirits also beginning to form a formation, Lu Qing didn't panic. Instead, he chuckled lightly. "I've been telling you all along to come at me together, but you insisted on waiting until now. Well, it's fine. I've just finished warming up. Next, let's get serious and play a little." As these words came out, the great powers of both races stirred. What, warm-up over? He wasn't even serious just now? Injuring true Martial King with a single punch was just a warm-up? Impossible, what he's saying can't be true. Hearing the commotion on their side, Xing Jian frowningly shouted, "Steady your primordial spirits. Don't let the evil demon's words disturb your heart and spirit." "Ha ha ha. So you call my words deceiving? Let me show you what true power is then." Lu Qing laughed heartily. With a single thought, the gray mana in his Dantian Qi Si suddenly began to circulate, flowing throughout his body. Instantly, a surge of energy resembling an ancient beast rose from Lu Qing. This aura was so terrifying that as soon as it appeared, the faces of all primordial spirits changed drastically, and they felt as if a massive mountain was pressing down on them, making it hard to breathe. Especially the demon clan primordial spirits. The weakest among them felt an instinctual terror as if facing their natural enemy, almost unable to contain the urge to kneel down. "You should feel honored." Lu Qing's voice wasn't loud, but it echoed throughout this realm. "This is the first time I've used my true strength after successfully crossing the tribulation. To die at my hands is your honor. So, are you prepared to face death?" Lu Qing's words were very arrogant. But none of the primordial spirit great powers, not even the most rebellious true Martial King, had the energy to refute him, because they were all completely overwhelmed by the aura Lu Qing displayed. After activating the gray mana, Lu Qing in their eyes was like an ancient resurrected demon god. The aura on his body was terrifying beyond measure. Just the leakage of it was enough to cause the space around him to warp and ripple. "You really weren't using your full strength before?" True Martial King asked with some difficulty. He couldn't accept that the Lu Qing who severely injured him just now was indeed only using part of his strength. However, this time Lu Qing didn't answer him, merely flickered his figure to disappear from the spot. "True Martial King, be careful." The true Martial King, whose heart and spirit were shaken, heard Elder Shing's divine soul transmission explode in his mind, bringing a moment of clarity. Yet, just as he snapped back to attention, he felt an incredibly sharp chill naturally descending from above. He suddenly looked up, then saw that Lu Qing had somehow appeared above him, slapping down with one palm. As this palm was sent out, although Lu Qing's hand wasn't large, true Martial King felt as if the entire sky was collapsing, crushing him down. Everything around him vanished in his perception, turning to pitch black, leaving only Lu Qing's jade-like hand, descending upon his head with the force of a falling sky. Roar! Under the overwhelming deathly chill that could almost freeze the primordial spirit, true Martial King went completely berserk. He let out an earth-shaking roar, his whole body bursting into layers of blood mist. His right arm, which had just recovered, and his seemingly intact left hand, gripped the golden giant staff tightly, thrusting it towards Lu Qing's palm with the might of the heavens. Under the endless threat of death, true Martial King unleashed his true potential, pouring all of his power into this one blow. At this moment he had but one thought. If this evil demon's palm is the falling sky, then he will pierce through the sky completely. With this thrust, true Martial King even felt that the five tribulation realm, which he had only glimpsed before, seemed nearer than ever. A trace of joy appeared in his eyes. He knew that if he could withstand this blow, in the days to come, he would truly ascend into the five tribulation realm, achieving the true Demon King status. Overestimating yourself. Seeing true Martial King unleash his strongest blow despite the damage to his origin. Lu Qing's eyes remained indifferent. With a single thought, the gray mana in his Dantian Qi merged into his physical body, causing the power of his physical body to increase several times again. Then his palm, without any flourish, slapped down onto that golden giant staff. Boom! Under the eruption of terrifying power, the position where Lu Qing and true Martial King were located was blasted into a space crack with a radius of 10 meters. The terrible spatial turbulence instantly spread out. Seeing true Martial King unleash his strongest blow despite the damage to his origin. Lu Qing's eyes remained indifferent. With a single thought, the gray mana in his Dantian Qi merged into his physical body, causing the power of his physical body to increase several times again. Then his palm, without any flourish, slapped down onto that golden giant staff. Boom! Under the eruption of terrifying power, the position where Lu Qing and true Martial King were located was blasted into a space crack with a radius of 10 meters. The terrible spatial turbulence instantly spread out. Lord True Martial King. In a turbulent flow of black space, the true Martial King, standing several zhang tall, was smashed into pulp by a palm strike from Lu Qing. This scene was so shocking that the other primordial spirit great powers were terrified, their hands and feet going cold. Especially those members of the demon clan in the primordial spirit realm, who almost couldn't believe their eyes. The true Martial King, with one foot in the five tribulation realm and having transformed into the demon ape true body, was crushed flat and ground into pulp by a single palm strike. Just how terrifyingly powerful must that kid be? Ah! Even after being smashed into pulp, the true Martial King still did not die on the spot. The mass of flesh continued to wriggle and struggle, attempting to regenerate its physical body. At the realm of the true Martial King, as long as the primordial spirit was not destroyed and vitality remained, there was still a chance to recover, no matter how severe the injuries. However, how could Lu Qing give him such a chance? With a thought, Lu Qing first took away the golden staff, then grabbed the mass of pulped flesh that the true Martial King had turned into, and retreated from the area of space turbulence. For in those few short breaths, the spatial rift torn by his palm force had already rapidly healed under the powerful space law of the heavenly origin great world. Though his mana was fierce, and his body strong, he had not truly begun to comprehend the space law. If swept into the depths of the void by space turbulence, he would probably only be able to escape with the help of a void ship. Just as he retreated from the range of space turbulence, Lu Qing felt a strong killing intent locking onto him completely. He turned to look, only to see Elder Shing had already taken down the heavy black iron sword from his back, holding it in both hands, vertically in front of him. With a stern expression, he exuded an incomparably fierce aura, staring intently at Lu Qing. And the killing intent Lu Qing felt emanated from a sword shadow behind Elder Shing. In the void behind him, a giant black sword shadow, inscribed with countless mysterious characters, was slowly forming. Evil demon, die. Heavenly punishment sword. Slash. As Lu Qing looked over, Elder Shing's sword formation reached its peak. He widened his eyes, and the black iron sword in his hands suddenly slashed forward. With this slash, the sword shadow behind him also rushed out of the void, heading toward Lu Qing. As soon as the sword shadow emerged from the void, it not only locked onto Lu Qing completely, but also forced the surrounding space to freeze rigidly as if turned to iron. Clearly, Elder Shing intended to use this to restrict Lu Qing's movements, ensuring he could no longer evade this sword with speed. Even at the moment he slashed out, Elder Shing's voice exploded in the minds of all remaining primordial spirit realm figures. Attack! This fiend is distracted suppressing the true martial king. Now is the time when he's the weakest. Upon hearing Elder Shing's message, the other primordial spirit realm figures quickly reacted. Two arrays began to operate, their terrifying formation power descending on Lu Qing in an instant. These arrays' power was even more terrifying than Elder Shing's heavenly punishment sword. After all, the formation was comprised of more than 20 primordial spirit great powers of 2 or 3 tribulations. Individually, none could be a match for Elder Shing. But when 20 primordial spirit realm figures unite, combining through 2 arrays, the power they can unleash far exceeds Elder Shing, a 4 tribulation peak primordial spirit. From Elder Shing's giant sword Shadow Slash, to the primordial spirits of the 2 clans activating the arrays to suppress Lu Qing, it all happened within mere breaths. In the blink of an eye, Lu Qing was heavily suppressed by immense power, barely able to move. Watching the giant black sword Shadow about to strike, feeling the oppressive force like a mountain crushing down on him, Lu Qing showed no fear, remaining as calm as ever. In fact, there was even a hint of mockery in his eyes. Do you think, with this power, you can suppress me? You're mistaken. You'll never know what true power is. With the sound of Lu Qing's voice resonating in all the primordial spirit realm minds, the next moment, they were horrified to see a massive figure suddenly rise from where Lu Qing stood. In an instant, it shattered the suppressive force of their array completely. A hand as large as a hill reached out and pinched the giant black sword Shadow slashed by Elder Shing. With a gentle squeeze, the giant sword Shadow that contained Elder Shing's full-force strike was utterly crushed. Transforming into a 100-zhang giant, Lu Qing flicked a finger, releasing a coarse sword chi imbued with a heaven-slicing, earth-destroying, all-slaying will, aimed at Elder Shing. What? Elder Shing watched the sword chi flicked by Lu Qing, his eyes widening in shock. More shocking than Lu Qing's sudden transformation. For within this sword chi he sensed a familiar sword intent. It was a sword intent he once felt in a certain spirit sword collected in the Holy Alliance treasure vault. And that spirit sword was said to have once belonged to a prominent figure of the sword cultivation Holy Land. Sky-breaking sword chi. How does this evil demon also know the sky-breaking sword chi? Elder Shing was utterly shocked. But he had no time to think further, as the sword chi flicked by Lu Qing was overflowing with intent to kill, incredibly concentrated. Its power was not at all inferior to the slash he had just unleashed. Even he, if not fully prepared, could be cut in half by one strike. Given his understanding of sky-breaking sword chi, if struck by this all-slaying will-imbued sword chi, even his primordial spirit might not withstand it, being completely cut down. Immediately, with the shadow of a death crisis looming, Elder Shing couldn't care about anything else. The black iron sword in his hand similarly gathered endless sword light, blocking the sky-breaking sword chi shot out by Lu Qing. On the other side, after shooting out the sword chi, Lu Qing didn't even look at the result. Stepping forward to the presence of the 2 great primordial spirit powers formed by 2 tribes, that huge body seemed to hardly affect his terrifying speed. Seeing Lu Qing, transformed into a giant, all the beings of the primordial spirit realm were stupefied, as if unable to comprehend why Lu Qing displayed such transformations. Then they saw Lu Qing casually pinch and explode the true martial king in his hand like a meatball. Then he raised both palms and slammed them down towards them with fury. Quick, dodge! Seeing the 2 enormous palms crushing down like covering the sky, all beings of the primordial spirit realm finally reacted. Under the threat of heart-shattering fear, they all flew crazily in all directions. Upon seeing the massive body of Lu Qing and the terrifying aura as if from an ancient demon god, all beings of the primordial spirit realm within both tribes had lost any will to fight, because they knew that no matter how they defended, even forming an array, it was impossible to stop the crushing heavenly demon palms. At this moment, all primordial spirits of the 2 tribes had only one thought. That was to escape. As long as they could escape the range of Lu Qing's palm, there would be a glimmer of vitality. However, how could Lu Qing give them such an opportunity? He had already displayed his true witch body, If he still let these beings of the primordial spirit realm escape, wouldn't it be a joke? As those beings in the primordial spirit realm were just about to move, the boundless palm force already completely enveloped them. The scope of the palm force suppressed the space entirely, halting all beings of the primordial spirit realm in place, trapping them firmly within the formation. Ah! No! The halted figures of the two tribes' primordial spirit realm looked at the giant palm constantly pressing down. Endless fear arose in their hearts, faces showing despair. Boom! Boom! Finally, Lu Qing's two palms entirely pressed down. In just an instant, the two big arrays were completely shattered by him, and more than 20 beings inside the formation, along with the array, were thoroughly crushed by him. Not only that, after crushing all beings of the primordial spirit realm, an ancient tripod phantom suddenly condensed from the air, swallowing all the crushed blood and flesh of the primordial spirit realm. Lu Qing knew that beings of the primordial spirit realm possess extremely strong life energy. Especially those who've overcome tribulations, the primordial spirit becomes extraordinarily resilient, not easily obliterated. So he directly activated the Leaving Fire tripod in the ancient tripod phantom, conjuring endless Nanming leaving fire to refine the blood and flesh of those primordial spirits. With Lu Qing's current strength, how terrifying is the Nanming leaving fire he stimulates. His gray mana harbors an unbelievable mighty power. When activating a spiritual artifact, the power becomes extremely terrifying. If he fully activates the Leaving Fire tripod, even space might be burned to nothingness. Those beings of the primordial spirit realm, already crushed and seriously injured near death, how could they withstand the burning of Nanming leaving fire? Only the sound of wailing within the tripod phantom, soon weakening within a few breaths. Finally, no sound remained. It was those more than 20 beings of the primordial spirit realm, completely refined to death by Lu Qing. Blood and flesh, primordial spirit, all turned to void. Only some treasures remained, left in place, collected by Lu Qing. Wretched beast! Just as Lu Qing had just collected the items, a voice filled with grief and anger rang out. Lu Qing turned to look, only to see Elder Shing standing in the air, clothing tattered, eyes filled with rage. On his body, several deep sword marks visible to the bone, the most severe nearly pierced through his entire body. Beside him was the true martial king, who took the opportunity while Lu Qing refined those beings of the primordial spirit realm to recondense his body. However, the true martial king at this moment, where was the slightest previous arrogance? Even severely injured, his aura greatly reduced, he could no longer manifest the demon ape true body. Looking at Lu Qing, like a demon god, his face was already full of terror. Oh, not bad. Surviving one of my sword strikes, you do have some skills. Lu Qing's face showed a hint of surprise, he said slowly. His voice rolled like heavenly might. Evil demon, why do you know the secret sword chi of the sky-breaking sword sect? A wicked demon like you will never be tolerated by the sky-breaking sword sect. Elder Shing looking at Lu Qing, desperately wishing to devour him alive. But he still asked the question he was most concerned about. You are not qualified to know. Lu Qing said calmly. Since your companions are dead. Next, it's your turn. Evil demon, do not be complacent. I have already transmitted the images here back to the Holy Alliance. You've slain numerous primordial spirit powers of our human race and demon clan, and have stolen the sky-breaking sword sect's untransmittable secrets. No matter which, it's an unforgivable mortal crime. Next, whether it's our human race, demon clan, or the sky-breaking sword sect, they will not let you go. No matter if you ascend to the heavens or hide your name, you will never escape the pursuit of the ultimate powers of our human race. In heaven and earth, even the entire great origin immortal domain, there's nowhere for you to hide anymore. Elder Shing shouted sharply. You talk too much nonsense. Upon hearing the threat, Lu Qing was indifferent. He pointed as a sword and slashed fiercely. A mountain-like thick sword chi was instantly unleashed, enveloping Elder Shing and the true martial king. You blocked that sword strike before? Try blocking another? What kind of power does Lu Qing use with the sky-breaking sword chi, with his true witch body? The mountain-like sky-breaking sword chi was unleashed, changing the colors of heaven and earth. Space was like cloth, cut by the sword chi into a massive space crack, extending towards Elder Shing and the true Martial King. Seeing such an earth-shattering scene, Elder Shing and the true Martial King were ashen-faced. They both knew that severely injured, they couldn't withstand such a dreadful strike. Furthermore, with sword intent enveloping them, even thinking of escape was impossible. However, even if doomed, Elder Shing wasn't going to sit and die. His face suddenly showed a resolute expression. Evil demon, even with death, I'll make you suffer. Immediately, a destructive aura spread from his body. Feeling this aura, the true Martial King's expression changed dramatically. Xing Jianyu, but before he could finish, a massive explosion erupted. Elder Shing's physical body suddenly exploded, the destructive force erupting from his location. Under such terrifying power explosion, the true Martial King's physical body was exploded again. A giant black hole suddenly emerged, swallowing everything around, including the fragments of Elder Shing and the true Martial King's bodies. Furthermore, the black hole swiftly spread, rapidly spreading towards Lu Qing's location. Self-destruct primordial spirit? Seeing this scene, Lu Qing's expression shifted, quickly retreating. During the retreat, his body continuously shrank, soon returning to its original form. And as his body shrunk, the speed kept soaring, making the black hole, although spreading quickly, never able to catch up with him. Finally, the black hole spread to a range of dozens of miles, stopped, and began slowly retracting. Seeing this, Lu Qing also halted. He knew this was the cosmic rules of the heavenly origin great world taking effect. This black hole was caused by Xing Jian detonating his primordial spirit to leverage space rules. It had the ability to devour everything, dragging all surroundings into the depths of the void. But the power of primordial spirit self-detonation, no matter how strong, ultimately had its limits. When the energy is exhausted, and the cosmic rules stabilize again, it's time to repair the space. Lu Qing quietly waited. But the power of primordial spirit self-detonation, no matter how strong, ultimately had its limits. When the energy is exhausted, and the cosmic rules stabilize again, it's time to repair the space. Lu Qing quietly waited. In midair, Lu Qing looked at the scene left after the black void disappeared. Below, a smooth, hemispherical crater several miles wide appeared on the ground. It seemed as if it had been swallowed in one bite by some ancient giant beast. Clearly, this happened when the black void expanded and devoured it earlier. The power of space is truly terrifying. Looking at the abyss-like void, Lu Qing felt a tremor in his heart. With his current strength, creating such a huge crater was not too difficult for him. But to instantly consume and annihilate all matter was not easy to achieve. No wonder those who have attained the 5 tribulations in the primordial spirit realm begin to comprehend the power of space. Such power is truly dreadful and fearsome. Standing silently in the air for a moment, Lu Qing turned into a stream of light and flew into the distance. According to what Elder Shing said before his death, if he had truly reported what happened here back to the Holy Alliance, then it wouldn't be long before more powerful entities would arrive. This place is no longer safe to stay. It's best to leave as soon as possible. Lu Qing chose a direction and quickly left. However, he did not enter the territories of the human race or the demon clan, instead heading north along the 10,000 Demon Mountain range. With his current speed, in the blink of an eye, he had traversed hundreds of miles and completely disappeared. And not long after Lu Qing left, above the giant crater, space suddenly distorted, and 3 figures appeared in midair. All 3 figures were in human form, with serious faces, emitting a powerful aura, and invisible spatial fluctuations surrounded them. Yet, when they took in the situation below, they couldn't help but reveal a trace of shock on their faces. What is this situation? One of the elders looked somewhat grave. He moved slightly, and suddenly a glazed lamp appeared in his hand, gently circulating mana. A moment later, a virtual image of a primordial spirit emerged from the glazed lamp. Its visage was exactly that of Elder Shing. Elder Shing, what has happened? That evil demon is nowhere to be found, and even your true body is missing. The virtual image of Elder Shing's primordial spirit concentrated for a moment. Then his face turned extremely grim. My true body has already self-destructed the primordial spirit. What? Self-destructed the primordial spirit? The three powerful figures were all taken aback upon hearing this. From the time you warned us, we rushed over as quickly as possible. How could it have been so fast that it forced your true body to self-destruct the primordial spirit? Is that evil demon really so formidable? That elder asked with a frown. That evil demon is indeed terrifying, more horrifying than any primordial spirit realm I've ever seen. I've never encountered such a strange primordial spirit realm. Now, I will show you Vice Hall Masters the memories my true body transmitted to me earlier. After Elder Shing finished speaking, he formed a spell with his hands, manifesting the memories transmitted by his true body before to the three powerful figures. Immediately, a series of images manifested in midair. It was the scene when he received the message from the middle-aged man in purple robes and others, rushed to the 10,000 Demon Mountain range, and saw Lu Qing preparing to kill the two 10,000 Beast sect disciples and tried to stop him. The three powerful figures watched attentively. At first, they remained composed, but when they saw the appearance of the true Martial King, their expressions started to change. The true Martial King has actually taken that crucial step. It seems there will be another 5 Tribulation Demon King in the demon domain. One of the figures said seriously. The 5 Tribulation Primordial Spirit already had a considerable impact on grand affairs. However, before this figure could finish his sigh, he saw the scene of the true Martial King being sent flying with one punch by Lu Qing and was momentarily stunned, showing disbelief. What? The true Martial King, who had 1 foot into the 5 Tribulation realm, was sent flying with one punch. The other 2 powerful figures were equally shocked. However, what surprised them even more was yet to come. In the image, the true Martial King, after being punched back, became furious and manifested the demon ape true body. But what the 3 powerful figures couldn't have imagined was that even after manifesting the demon ape true body, the true Martial King was still completely no match for that evil demon. Not only was his arm blasted apart with one punch, but he was subsequently crushed into pulp with one palm. Especially when they saw Lu Qing punching out space rifts and unleashing spatial turbulence with a palm, the 3 of them suddenly widened their eyes. Fist breaking the void, the elder murmured. This evil demon clearly hasn't comprehended space law, yet breaks the void with brute strength. How powerful must his physical body be? Following this, they saw Lu Qing under the combined suppression of Elder Shing and the big array of the 2 races' primordial spirits show his true witch body. Not only did he break free of all suppressive power, but the sword chi he flicked with his fingers forced Elder Shing into a precarious state, barely resisting with all his might. And the 2 big arrays composed of the 2 races' primordial spirits were crushed by Lu Qing's twin palms. The top-notch primordial spirit great powers shattered to pieces and were further completely refined. The 3 powerful figures were startled and could no longer keep their composure, their faces drastically changing. Yet at this time, the images in the air suddenly vanished. Elder Shing? That elder immediately turned his head, only to see Elder Shing, whose body had become even more illusory, reveal a bitter smile. Vice Hall Master, the divine soul memories transmitted by the true body are only up to this point. I don't even know what happened next. I assume the situation became so urgent that the true body didn't even have time to send another memory before self-destructing the primordial spirit. The 3 powerful figures fell silent. They naturally knew that although one in the primordial spirit realm could split off a part of their spirit, the connection between the main body and the separated spirit was not maintained at every moment. Especially if the distance was too great to communicate memories, one must perform a secret technique for mutual communication. It was clear that the current situation was that Elder Shing's main body must have performed the secret technique to transmit memories and then self-destructed the primordial spirit. The massive pit on the ground beneath was caused by the power of his self-destruction. It was unclear what happened to the evil demon afterward, whether it perished together with Elder Xing's main body or managed to escape. Looking at Elder Xing's increasingly illusory figure, the elder sighed and said, "All right, leave the next matters to us. Elder Xing, you should return to the soul lamp to rest, and we'll discuss your resurrection after we return." "Thank you, Vice Hall Master." Hearing this, Elder Xing was overjoyed and, after bowing to the three powerful figures, transformed into a stream of light and entered the glazed lamp. The separated spirit he left behind was not strong, and after performing the secret technique to manifest memories, it became even weaker. Only within the soul lamp could it slowly recover. It was not suitable to linger outside for long. Once Elder Xing had entered the soul lamp, the elder then put it away. "Martial Hall Master, have you decided to resurrect Xing Jian?" asked one figure. Naturally, over the years, Xing Jian has been tirelessly working for the Holy Alliance, accomplishing many tasks. The merit he accumulated is enough to exchange for a resurrection qualification. The elder nodded. "What about the other primordial spirit realms? Everything should follow the rules. The resources required for resurrection are not plentiful, even for our Holy Alliance, and there are so many eyes watching us in the Alliance, we can't afford to break the rules. We'll check their merits once we return. Whosoever merits meet the standards will be resurrected." "That's good. Following the rules means no one can have any objections." The figure also nodded. After agreeing on the resurrection matters, the three fell silent again. After a few moments, the elder said, "Two Vice Hall Masters, what are your thoughts on this matter? The origins of this evil demon are indeed mysterious. It doesn't seem to belong to our heavenly origin great world." A powerful figure mused and then spoke. "Indeed, the robustness of this evil demon's physical body is too abnormal, clearly not something an ordinary body refining technique could achieve. In our heavenly origin great world, neither the demon clan nor the magic clan has such powerful body refining techniques. Moreover, he is adept in sword Dao. According to Elder Xing, the sword chi he emitted seems to have a close connection with the sky-breaking sword sect." The third figure added, "The terrifying physical prowess, capable of breaking the void with the physical body, and mastery of sword Dao, able to slash 4 tribulation primordial spirits. Such a character surely doesn't belong to our heavenly origin great world." "You're both right. This evil demon likely isn't from our heavenly origin great world." The elder nodded. "And why his physical body is so robust, I've also got some clues. Martial Hall Master, you know the secret of this evil demon's physical body?" Upon hearing this, the other two were shocked and quickly asked. They knew that although all were Vice Hall Masters of the Holy Alliance, with equal status, but compared to this old primordial spirit of unknown age, they were far less in terms of experience and knowledge. "If I'm not mistaken, the body refining technique this evil demon cultivated likely originates from the legendary techniques passed down from ancient times, of the Witch Clan." "Witch Clan?" The two powerful figures looked at each other in bewilderment. The term was entirely unfamiliar to them. "It's normal that you haven't heard of it. The Witch Clan was a powerful race that existed in the extremely distant ancient times. Legend has it that this piece of the starry sky was once under the control of this strong race. But for some reason, this race vanished from history. I learned some information about this ancient race when exploring the starry sky and unintentionally entered a void cave mansion. It said that the Witch Clan was a terrifying race focused on cultivating the physical body. Their physical bodies were far more powerful than the Demon Clan and Magic Clan of our current time, almost of a different level. It's rumored that once a member of the Witch Clan reached a certain level of cultivation, they could refine mysterious and unfathomable physical body divine powers. Those with high realms could deploy Dharma divine power, expanding their physical body to thousands of feet in size. Shattering mountains and splitting earth, overturning seas were trivial to them. The most formidable powerhouses of the Witch Clan could even pluck stars and hold the moon. Striding across worlds, their terror was beyond description. Plucking stars and holding the moon, striding across worlds. The other two Vice Hall Masters listened to the elder's description, gasping in astonishment. They could hardly imagine what kind of existence could achieve such terrifying feats. Even a mysterious being above the primordial spirit might find it difficult to possess such supreme power. Hard to imagine, huh? When I first learned of these things, I also found it unbelievable. But the void cave mansion I inadvertently entered was also from an extremely ancient time, hard to research, so this information may not necessarily be fabricated. The other two Vice Hall masters, hearts stirring, fell into prolonged silence. By the way, in the scene Elder Shing displayed, that evil demon transformed into a giant 100 feet tall. Could it be because the cultivation he practiced was the Witch Clan's technique? A Vice Hall master suddenly asked. I can't think of any other reason, the elder said. The robustness of this evil demon's physical body is too abnormal, something that none of the body-refining techniques we know of can achieve. Only the secret techniques of the ancient Witch Clan might have such an effect. During the Tianshu Divine Mountain incident, didn't this evil demon enter a secret realm filled with physically strong mutant beasts but lacking in spiritual energy? I suspect that secret realm was likely a relic left behind by the ancient Witch Clan. The Witch Clan technique the evil demon practiced might also have been obtained from that secret realm. The other two Vice Hall masters recalled the events of those years and the many pieces of information their Holy Alliance had gathered afterward. They couldn't help but nod slightly, thinking the Martial Hall master's words weren't without reason. Moreover, the Tianshu Divine Mountain has always been incredibly mysterious. Despite numerous explorations over the years by the Holy Alliance, the mysteries within remain unresolved. No one knows what kind of secrets the core holds. The techniques of the ancient Witch Clan? I'd love to see what they're like. A Vice Hall master couldn't help but marvel. It's a shame that all traces here were erased by the power of Xing Jian's main body's self-destruction. Whether that evil demon was swept into the depths of the void or escaped is unknown. Given the power that evil demon displayed, I think it's unlikely even Xing Jian's self-destruction of the primordial spirit could have harmed him, so he most likely already escaped. If he escaped, then where would he flee to? To our human race territory, or into the demon domain? With all traces gone, there's no way to deduce. Moreover, it's said that this evil demon has an exotic treasure that can shield against karma deduction, and even wields a space treasure. If he uses that space treasure, it would be even more challenging for us to trace him. The three Vice Hall masters, increasingly feeling the difficulty, continued. The power of the evil demon was formidable. Even a 4 Tribulation Peak primordial spirit was not his match. Although he hadn't comprehended the space rules, he controlled a space treasure capable of space shifting. Additionally, he possessed an exotic treasure that concealed karma, making calculations impossible. Having such a terrible enemy hidden in the shadows, opposing their Holy Alliance, even they found it troublesome. Rumble. At that moment, as the three were troubled, a surge in the void ahead appeared. In the next instant, several silhouettes exuding ancient fierce beast-like auras suddenly emerged. They are several great demon kings of the Demon Clan. Upon seeing the powerful figures that had descended, the three Vice Hall masters of the Holy Alliance breathed a sigh of relief and went up to greet them. Elephant King, Horse King, you have arrived as well? The elder approached those figures and greeted them. A sturdy, tall man with an elephant trunk frowned at the surroundings. Wu-hee, what's going on here? I received the true Martial King's call for help. Where are they now? The elder sighed. I'm afraid the true Martial King has met with misfortune. What did you say? The Demon Kings were all taken aback. The Elephant King furrowed his brow further. How could this be? The true Martial King had already comprehended the crucial step and was about to undergo a bloodline transformation and truly step into the 5 Tribulation realm. Who could kill him in such a short time? At this, the Elephant King looked suspiciously at the 3 Vice Hall masters of the Holy Alliance. These 3 arrived earlier than them. Could they have dealt the fatal blow? There's no point in saying more, Elephant King, see for yourself. The elder naturally understood the meaning behind the Elephant King's gaze. He knew that, under the current circumstances, explanations were useless. Immediately, he used his hand to manifest the memory shown earlier by Elder Shing, and displayed it to the Elephant King and the Demon Kings. The Demon Kings watched the scene the elder manifested with a shocked expression. This is the memory Elder Xing Jian sent through his primordial spirit's split consciousness before his death. As for his main body, it self-destructed its primordial spirit and perished. The deep pit on the ground below is the result of his primordial spirit's self-destruction. As for the true martial king, he probably couldn't escape that evil demon's clutches. The Demon Kings were silent. They recalled the scenes the elder had manifested earlier and looked at the huge pit below. They had to admit that what the elder said was highly likely true. Given the strength shown by the evil demon in the images, it was indeed unlikely that the true martial king could escape. Wu He, what is the origin of that evil demon? And why did the true martial king provoke him? The Elephant King couldn't help but ask. He only received the true martial king's call for help, but wasn't clear on much more. It's a long story. We should discuss it slowly. I'm also troubled by how to capture that evil demon. If the demon domain could assist, that would be best. The elder sighed. Lu Qing was still unaware that after he left, 3 Vice Hall Masters of the Holy Alliance and several great demon kings had successively arrived at the previous battlefield. Flying north along the 10,000 Demon Mountain range, he used the transmission talisman several times for spatial transfers midway. After retreating tens of thousands of miles, he finally descended and found a spacious natural cave. After setting up an array to conceal his aura, he released Little Li and the others. Ah Qing, you're amazing! As soon as Little Li emerged from the leaving fire tripod, it was extremely excited, jumping in front of Lu Qing and circling around him. That was a half-step demon king at the pinnacle of the 4 tribulation primordial spirit, and you flattened it with 1 palm. Ah Qing, how did you transform into a giant? Little Li chirped around Lu Qing, full of excitement. It turns out that during Lu Qing's battle with the true martial king, he hadn't completely sealed the array of the leaving fire tripod, so Little Li and others could still see what was happening outside. The 5 elements watched Lu Qing with a face full of admiration, knowing that its master had always been powerful. But even it didn't expect that after Lu Qing passed the heavenly tribulation and achieved the primordial spirit, he would become this strong. As for the white flood dragon, ever since it came out, it laid obediently on the ground, its gaze toward Lu Qing full of reverence. In its mind, the scene of Lu Qing transforming into a giant and flattening the true martial king with 1 palm, then 2 palms crushing numerous primordial spirit great powers, was still vivid. Especially the true martial king. As a former member of the Serpent Clan, during its youth, the White Flood Dragon had lived in the royal capital of the demon domain. It had heard the true martial king's name countless times. He was a truly significant figure, whom even its father had to look up to from afar. It was reported that the true martial king was the demon clan's most hopeful candidate to step into the primordial spirit 5 tribulations and ascend to a demon king. That's why he was granted the title of king at an early stage. Yet such a significant figure, the true martial king, with 1 foot into the demon king realm, was flattened by Lu Qing's palm. This scene made the white flood dragon feel like it was dreaming. It realized how fortunate it had been to survive its initial attack on Lu Qing. With Lu Qing's killing nature, not being casually killed back then was truly generous and merciful. So upon emerging, when facing Lu Qing again, the white flood dragon became exceedingly obedient. Not only did it lie prostrate on the ground, but it was also too afraid to even move its tail, lest it did something wrong and was crushed by Lu Qing. All right. Lu Qing amusingly held down the excited Little Li. I'll tell you everything later. Little Li, calm down a bit. I have something to say to Xiao Bai. Ah Qing, what do you want to say to Xiao Bai? After Lu Qing patted its head, Little Li's excitement gradually calmed down. The white flood dragon also shivered, raising its head to look at Lu Qing. It didn't know what this lord wanted to ask. Xiao Bai, you're not a regular member of the demon clan, are you? Lu Qing asked. I noticed that earlier those demon primordial spirits seemed quite concerned about you. The white flood dragon remained silent for a moment, then finally nodded. Yes, my lord. I am not a native spiritual beast of the 10,000 Demon Mountain range. I was originally born in the royal capital of the Demon Domain, and the blood running in me is that of the direct lineage of the Serpent Clan. The Serpent Dragon lineage? Lu Qing nodded slightly. The Dragon Clan is one of the most powerful races among the Demon Clan. It is said that one of the Demon Clan's demon emperors originated from the Serpent Dragon lineage. No wonder those primordial spirits of the Demon Clan care so much about the White Flood Dragon. Since you are a direct lineage of the Serpent Dragon, why are you hiding in the 10,000 Demon Mountain range for secluded cultivation? The White Flood Dragon lowered its head. Because my father made a grave mistake back in the day. We were exiled from the Demon Domain. Later, while wandering outside, we were targeted by a primordial spirit realm from the human race who wanted to take us as spiritual pets. My father refused and engaged in a battle with that human primordial spirit. In the end, my father was no match, and in a desperate effort, he used a secret technique to take me and escape into the 10,000 Demon Mountain range. Later, my father succumbed to his injuries, and I have been hiding in the spiritual pond, cultivating as per his last wishes. I haven't ventured out for over 100 years nor interacted much with other spiritual and demon beasts in the mountains, until I encountered you, my lord. I see. Lu Qing nodded again. His superpower, while capable of probing the origins of the White Flood Dragon, still provided limited information. At least now, he roughly understood the context. He didn't delve into what exactly the White Flood Dragon's father did back in the day, but instead said to it, Xiao Bai, as you saw earlier, your secluded cultivation valley has been exposed, and it's likely not safe to continue cultivation there. What are your plans for the future? I don't know, the White Flood Dragon said helplessly. These events happened so suddenly that it was caught completely off guard, unsure of what to do. Seeing the White Flood Dragon at a loss, Lu Qing pondered for a moment. He said, In truth, this matter stems from me. If I hadn't occupied your secluded cultivation spot for my closed-door retreat and crossed the tribulation there, it wouldn't have attracted so many primordial spirits. Here's the deal, I'll give you two options. If there's anywhere you want to go, feel free to say so. I will send you there and present you with an opportunity, ensuring you can cultivate to the primordial spirit realm. The second option is to stay by my side in the future, cultivating alongside Little Li and the others. When Lu Qing mentioned the first option, the White Flood Dragon didn't react much. However, upon hearing the second option, it suddenly looked up. With some disbelief, it asked, I can stay by your side, my lord? Of course you can. Your bloodline talent is commendable, and you're good friends with Little Li. By following me, Little Li will have a playmate in the future. But I must tell you in advance, in a few days we might leave the heavenly origin great world. Not sure if we'll return, so consider carefully. I want to stay by your side, my lord. Before Lu Qing could finish, the White Flood Dragon decisively said, My lord, I want to stay by your side. No matter where you go, I'm willing to follow. Seeing the determination in the eyes of the White Flood Dragon, Lu Qing smiled, saying nothing more, just nodding. Very well. You'll follow me in cultivation. That's great. Xiao Bai, we can cultivate together in the future. Before the White Flood Dragon could even relax after Lu Qing's agreement, Little Li jumped in front of it joyfully. Even the 5 elements showed a delighted expression, running over to the White Flood Dragon with eagerness. As Lu Qing watched the spiritual beasts playing, he paid it no mind. After casually setting up a silencing array, he sat cross-legged, entering a meditative state. This time, after successfully crossing the tribulation and stepping into the primordial spirit realm, it attracted primordial spirits from 2 races. So he didn't have time to fully comprehend the various changes after his breakthrough. Now that the battle was over, he could finally sort through the gains of his recent tribulation crossing. Seeing Lu Qing meditating, Little Li and the White Flood Dragon stopped their playing and began chatting quietly. Little Li, when will you return home? The White Flood Dragon asked softly. Not sure yet. We'll have to wait until Qing digests the gains from this tribulation crossing before we can leave, I guess. The Lord is amazing. He just achieved the primordial spirit and was able to slay the four tribulations' pinnacle true martial king. Indeed, Ching has always been amazing. Even before he crossed the tribulation, he had already slain quite a few in the primordial spirit realm. Little Li said matter-of-factly. While the white flood dragon's eyes widened, Little Li continued, "By the way, Xiao Bai, your physique is still too big. Weren't you researching a transformation technique? How's your progress?" "Little Li, how did you know? Do I even need to guess? Every time I see you, I can tell from the change in your aura. I haven't perfected it yet. My body can't become much smaller. Then I'll teach you a transformation technique." After achieving the primordial spirit, the transformation is truly significant. When Lu Qing awoke from meditation, his eyes held a range of insights, having thoroughly comprehended the numerous changes after entering the primordial spirit realm. First is the change in strength. After stepping into the primordial spirit realm, whether it is mana, physical body, or divine soul power, all underwent qualitative transformations. Especially the grayish mana condensed in the Dan Tian Qi Si, its power is incredibly formidable. This made his execution of various Taoist skills he originally grasped significantly more powerful. Take for example the sky-breaking sword Qi. His current cultivation of it has truly reached mastery, with unrivaled power. Even compared to the Patian Taoist in the inheritance space, it's not too far off. Of course, Lu Qing is comparing this to the Patian Taoist from 10,000 years ago. In the countless years that followed, if the Patian Taoist still lives, it's certain he has become incomparably powerful. The changes in Taoist skills brought by mana are just one aspect. Another significant change is Lu Qing's physical body. During the previous heavenly tribulation, Lu Qing's physical body also crossed the tribulation and broke through. Now, simply in terms of physical strength, he can be said to have entered the true witch realm. And compared to the true witch prodigies from the history of the witch clan, his physical body is even more robust. After stepping into the true witch realm, with the physical body's transformation, Lu Qing can also manifest the witch clan's unique physical body divine power. This is the true witch body he used earlier in battles with the true martial king and the others. Once the true witch body is activated, the physical body expands thousands of times, with the strength rapidly increasing as well. This can be considered one of the witch clan's signature divine skills. However, ordinary true witches, when freshly breaking through, can only expand their physical body a few meters. Reaching 10 meters would already qualify them as world-class prodigies. Lu Qing, upon becoming a true witch, can expand his true witch body to 100 meters high. Such an unprecedented talent, if placed in ancient times, might directly stir many great witches and even ancestor witches of the witch clan. Unfortunately, with times having changed, it's unknown if the witch clan still exists. Thus, Lu Qing's astonishing talent goes unrecognized by anyone. Apart from these two aspects, there's also Lu Qing's primordial spirit. Currently, his primordial spirit holds the yin-yang 5 elements gourd in the right hand, the divine soul talisman in the left, with 5 large spiritual pearls on his back. With protection and augmentation by the 3 exotic treasures, along with his inherent uniqueness, Lu Qing's primordial spirit has become equally formidable to an astonishing degree, although he has just newly entered the primordial spirit realm. Yet, when discussing the true power of his primordial spirit, he is by no means inferior to the pinnacle of 4 tribulations, or even 5 tribulations realms. It's precisely with such profound foundations that he could so effortlessly slay both the true martial king and elder Xing, 2 major primordial spirits. Lu Qing estimated, at his current state, even without using magical treasures, relying solely on his own Taoist skills and divine skills, an ordinary primordial spirit at 4 tribulations is already entirely outmatched by him. As for the great power at primordial spirit 5 tribulations, considering many 5 tribulation primordial spirits have already begun to comprehend the space law. Spatial power is mysterious and unfathomable, with vast and enigmatic might. So it's only through real combat that the outcome can be known. Nonetheless, Lu Qing is already extremely satisfied with his prowess. After all, he has just achieved the primordial spirit realm, with a period of rapid advancement still ahead of him.